speaking to help us cut down on any background noise. Also, I'm going to ask chancellors and staff from the system administration and the campuses to turn off your video camera unless you would like to speak or need to present an item. If after turning off your video, you want to be acknowledged to engage in the discussion, just please raise your hand. For those of you wearing masks, please remember to speak into your microphones loudly and clearly so everyone may hear you. And finally, remember to identify yourself when making comments or asking questions. With that, Jess, please call the roll.
Regent President Peterson.
Here.
Regent Vice President Grebe.
Here.
Regent Atwell.
Here.
Regent Bechtel.
Here.
Regent Bogus.
Here.
Regent Cologne. Regent Hall.
Here.
Regent Jones.
Here.
Regent Klein.
Here.
Regent Lovezow.
Here.
Regent Manydeeds.
Here.
Regent Miller.
Here.
Regent Peterson.
Here.
Regent Saffold.
Here.
Regent Stanford Taylor. Regent Walsh.
Here.
Regent Weatherly.
Here.
Regent Woodmansee.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jess. As we consider items on today's agenda, are there board members who wish to declare any conflicts of interest regarding today's open session? Regent Weatherly.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse myself from Capital Planning and Budget Committee voting on item D.
On item D. Thank you. And I don't see Regent Stanford Taylor with us yet, but I do believe she'll be recusing herself from item E on the Capital Planning and Budget Committee item as well. Jess, can you document those?
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll go to our committee reports. We're going to move a little bit out of order, and we're going to start with the Business and Finance Group. So I'll call on Chairman Bechtel to provide his report this morning. Scott, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. The Business and Finance Committee convened yesterday morning to consider April's agenda items. Roll was called. There are no absences and no conflicts of interest were noted. After approval of February's minutes, UW-Madison's Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, Loren Heller, introduced the first two agreements submitted by UW-Madison for approval. An agreement first with Context Biopharma and the Medical College of Wisconsin. Context Biopharma will provide the drug supplies and financial support for a breast cancer treatment clinical trial. Patients in the trial will be enrolled through various community medical centers in Wisconsin and will have experienced disease progression while on other approved therapies. Context's investigational drug combined with an approved treatment will be assessed for its effectiveness in treating the breast cancers. The Medical College of Wisconsin will analyze blood and tumor tissue samples pre and post-treatment in this assessment. While this contract has no set value, there is an estimated dollar value of over $1.5 million upon completion of the trial. And we were pleased to see that coordination and synergy between the Medical College of Wisconsin and the UW. The next agreement from UW-Madison is with Stanley Convergent Security Solutions. This contract is to replace the electronic door access system across campus, 5,000 access points in 150 buildings. This is necessitated by an end of life for security and support of the current product. We did get a good lifespan out of that product. It was installed back in 2004. In addition to securing people and capital property on campus, access control and up-to-date security is key to retaining and attracting federally funded research projects. Those researchers and those funders do insist that there be good security for our campuses to protect the assets inside. Stanley received the highest score in response to a request for proposal. Bless you. I think there are over 13 or 14 different folks that are businesses that look to come into that process. And the work under this contract is expected to exceed $1 million. Next, UW System Associate Vice President for Finance, Julie Gordon, outlined proposed changes to amend Regent Policy Document 13.4, institutional and employee relationships with educational lenders. The current policy dates from 2007, and it relates to benefits our institutions may receive in exchange for placing private lenders on preferred lender lists. So a lot of openness and transparency and making sure that there's nothing happening behind the scenes to influence who gets on that preferred lender list, and transparency with the students who will be undertaking those loans. This update will align the policy with current federal regulations and it reformats the policy in line with standards of Regent policy documents. So we approve that. Next, UW-Madison presented to the Business and Finance Committee back in February on innovative opportunities for funding its public mission. And this is going to be an ongoing project with our committee, is to look at different ways to leverage the assets of UW-Madison for the good of the public and our students. One of the ideas discussed was generating revenue through real estate development, and that's what we focused on here. The committee asked Vice Chancellor Heller to return in April with more detail on next steps of this particular innovation. That's what we focused on. Chancellor Blank introduced the item, and then back to Vice Chancellor Heller. He provided a quick refresher on the Revenue Innovation Study Group. And if you haven't read that report, I would encourage you to look at it. It's pretty interesting, and it talks about how UW-Madison wants to look at different sources of revenue to support its mission. That study group had recommended different innovative revenue strategies. Rob Kramer joined, and he spoke about the legal and regulatory considerations of this innovation. Managing Director at the University Research Park, Aaron Oliver, shared his team's perspective on how developing University Research Park fits its mission and is in alignment with UW-Madison's strategy. We were fortunate to have UW System President Thompson join the meeting and gave us a little more background and origin story on the very successful University Research Park. Mr. Heller will be back in June to further discuss this with the board and hopes to finalize a memorandum of understanding with University Research Park. So that'll be pretty much our conduit by which we're going to be doing some of these real estate activities for the good of UW-Madison. Chuck Saunders, the director of UWSA's Office of Trust Funds, and two representatives from the State of Wisconsin Investment Board, SWIB, presented highlights from the Trust Fund's quarterly investment report. They provided a pretty positive report given the way the markets have been moving. So for that period ending December 31, 2020, assets totaled $682.9 million. That's split into $532.1 million in the long-term fund and $150.8 million in the income cash fund. Public equity investments increased over 15%. The bond investments returned 0.84%. Inflation-sensitive investments gained 3.2%. Private markets portfolio returned 8.75%, and the UW Fund custom benchmark increased 0.977%. So strong returns in still what is a pretty conservatively balanced portfolio. Lastly, the Vice President for Finance, Sean Nelson, and the best part of that was I said lastly, gave the committee an update on federal COVID-19 related assistance. The total estimated COVID-related expenses and revenue loss through May of 2021 is approximately $534 million. Federal funding and campus expense cost savings, including furloughs and restricted travel, have mitigated this overall financial impact. However, as we noted yesterday, UW institutions will collectively have an estimated net loss of $168 million through the end of this spring semester. In conclusion, on behalf of the Business and Finance Committee, I would now move for approval of agenda items C, D, E, and F.
Thank you, Chairman Bechtel. We have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Regent Bogost. Any discussion on the business and finance agenda items? Okay, seeing none on the screen, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This time, if we could, I'll go to Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
President.
President Thompson.
And Chairman Bechtel, if I could, just for a minute, outline a couple things in regard to the business, because I think it's right in line with the report that Chairman Bechtel just gave the board. As you probably know, I went going around to all the universities, and we have tremendous opportunities on a lot of our campuses for joint developments. And what we did is we put out an RFP to developers and people that are looking at ways in which they might give us ideas. That RFP we're going through it right now. We had tremendous responses to it, but there are just a great deal of opportunities. for instance, and Superior. There's a whole block up there that they would like to dedicate to development. And for the development, they're not going to sell the land, they're going to develop it, but they want to build a gymnasium for the students' recreation program, but also put in commercial facilities. And there's a whole block down, right next to the campus. In Brown County, Green Bay, there's the golf course, which is not making any money because they need to have 18 holes instead of 9. They'd like to be able to develop that into a thing. Plus, there's a piece of property on the bay, and there's tremendous opportunities and desire to develop that. Parkside, I don't know how many of you, I'm sure all of you have been there. There's huge amounts of property to develop there and make it available to commercial development. My hope is to get all the campuses looking at this, and they all are. They're all excited about it. And we're trying to develop joint ventures so that instead of selling the land, we're going to have an ongoing revenue stream for, well, I hope forever, for the universities to help them because we have a reducing amount of money from the state. This is going to make up for that. So I just wanted you to know it. We'll be reporting back on the RFPs at the next board meeting, but they came in, it looks very promising. And I just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of action going on, not only on Madison, but on a lot of campuses are looking for the opportunities for joint ventures.
Thank you for that update, President Thompson. Any questions related to that RFP from the board members? Okay, seeing none, we'll pivot to our next committee report from the Chair of the Education Committee, Regent Tracy Klein. Tracy, go ahead.
Thank you, Regent President Peterson. At our yesterday meeting, the Education Committee approved 3 resolutions and received 3 presentations. First, we received a host campus presentation from UW Provost Glenda Lee Rodriguez and Dean of Students Scott. Their presentation featured UW Stout's new esports program, as well as great example insights to each academic college at UW Stout. Notably, in 2021, CEO World Magazine ranked UW Stout's Bachelor of Science, Hotel, Restaurant, and Tourism Management to be 13th in the world. Provost Rodriguez also highlighted UW Stout's dedicated work in serving adult learners via customized programming in online instruction. We learned that UW Stout is the only Wisconsin higher education certified by the United States Distance Learning Association, USDLA. Next, we received an update on the Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin. We hear every meeting from Executive Director Dr. Marissa Jablonski, and we felt very, very strongly that good strides are being made on curriculum development, collaborative programming, funding, and partnership opportunities with respect to that important initiative. Finally, Vice President Maribel Soso delivered her report to the education. She focused her report at our request on a very important initiative to the Education Committee, UW Board of Regents, the online education initiative, which we all will hear more of this afternoon. She is leading that on behalf of President Thompson. So she introduced it to us, and and Governor Thompson was there very much, Governor, to participate in that discussion. Notably, the business of the committee included approval of changes to Regent Policy Document 4-15, excess credit policy. We also approved 2 new academic degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Engineering at UW-Madison, and a Bachelor of Science in Arts Administration and Entrepreneurship at UW-Stout. So that concludes my report, and I would move adoption of Board Resolutions C1 through 3 and Resolution B.
Thank you, Chairman Klein. We have a motion on the table. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Dr. Hall. Discussion related to the Education Committee? Yes, Regent Bechtel.
Yeah, just one question for you, Tracy. On the Freshwater Collaborative, I think the focus primarily has been on the curriculum and getting coordination among the campuses for the academic programming, the curriculum. have they begun to pivot towards internships and how to kind of link those students into job opportunities? Or there's a large water cluster here in the state and and they need employees. I'm just wondering if they've started looking into that yet.
You know, what I heard is I heard a lot of discussion on what certificates, what each campus is going to be able to offer in terms of curriculum. I heard a lot of focus on partnerships and the need to reach out. In fact, Chancellor Mone actually texted me after the meeting. I talked about the Kohler Company and others, and he said, we're working on that nonstop. It seems like many things are being done on a multifaceted basis. For me, that was part of the happiness of this. She also, Dr. Polonsky also made it clear she's going to be going to the legislature, and Governor Thompson recommended that as part of that, legislative insight program, that she get legislators out on boats, or at least to see what we have. And so what I was really, really pleased that it wasn't just, we're doing this now and then we'll do this and then later we'll get to that. Now, she didn't talk about internships, but to be fair to her, the report got cut off a little bit because as is our custom, we ran long.
Yeah.
So I promised her more time next.
Thank you. So just,
Chairman, back to if you, I think it would be smart, and I'm not telling you, I didn't know you know this, but Dr. Marissa Jablonski, she is just outstanding.
Mhm.
And she's been all over the world. She's got several degrees and she's taken over the program. And she's a go-getter. I would strongly urge you to take her down to your law firm and some night for after session with your lawyers and talk to her. She is looking for ideas.
Yeah.
She's got many of her own and she is really good. And I think they purchased a new boat for Lake Superior to do the testing on it. I know I was trying to raise money with Mike Cudahy back in the 90s for that damn boat. And the boat
now
was,
you got two.
that boat came out, the boat was actually the fourth ship with the Mayflower and the Pinta. But it got over to Milwaukee and it's still there. But I think they got the new boat and it's going to be good. But there's just tremendous opportunity, and the excitement on our campuses for this initiative is great. We've got to be able to exude that excitement to the legislature.
Well, and the Water Council is just a natural partner.
It is.
Kohler, Badger Meter, A.O. Smith. So we're trying to
Great
find
company.
those linkages, and I'll try to follow up on that and
I
help
mean, she's,
expedite that.
I don't know if she has enough help behind her, but her support is really important. I think, I don't know if anybody, Water Center, on our Board of Regents
I remember that.
years ago, about that as we begin to travel again off.
Thank you.
As I mentioned yesterday, the Discover Wisconsin segments, one is on freshwater. It'll be at UW Green Bay. And
Right.
so it's starting to continue that amplification of how
Mhm.
important this is. I think any of that intersection between the Water Council and them in our initiative, time well spent.
Take us off, can I?
Sure.
Thing that she talks about, is that separate and apart from the requesting of the legislature? In other words, is that kind of its own law? Or is it like part of a package?
The Freshwater Science Initiative, I believe that those dollars are part of the initiative of
Yeah,
our budget
yeah.
submission. So they're one of a number of initiatives-based
gotcha.
requests.
Tracy, my hearing is so bad.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
so sorry. I couldn't.
I'm having an
No.
allergy to the mask, so sorry.
Hopefully this darn mask can come off soon. We get
But
everybody
Tracy,
back.
we can get you the precise numbers. It's included.
I just wondered if we were ever competing against ourselves, because that one
Yes.
looks like a very good initiative and.
It's a great initiative, but every one of the campuses, Stevens Point really wants to get an initiative for fish propagation. I was up on the Green Bay campus. They're doing some tremendous things on Lake Michigan and on the Bay. And of course, Superior, they got so many things going, and we got the Mississippi and the Crosse. There are just so many of these opportunities. we can become the water capital of the world very easily. Create tremendous jobs. They told me, Chairman Klein, that in Green Bay, every one of their graduates in fish management and in fish science, every one of them have many offers, not one, but many offers of graduation, and 46, and it's just wide open. So if we can just get that kind of information out to students around, come to our schools, there's just jobs waiting for you. And all you have to do is go to our college. We got a great bonanza that we could use.
Geographically, I'd say we are the freshwater capital of the world. We just haven't lived up to the potential of this resource.
Thanks for the correction, Bob. You're right.
Yeah, I agree. This is us asserting ourselves as a destination for
Right.
water resources.
Yeah.
Got to continue to accelerate that. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Thank you, Regent Klein. Let's now go on to the Capital Planning and Budget Committee. Chairman Jones, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Region President Peterson. The committee met yesterday morning and received an excellent presentation by Justin Upattle, Director of Facilities Planning, and Jindy Niedermeyer, Interim Dean at the College of STEM at UW-Stout. The presentation, entitled Planning and Building for the Future, COVID-19 and Beyond, demonstrated the urgent need for the renovation of Heritage Hall and explained how cross-institutional collaboration is enhanced through this renovation process. Senior Associate Vice President Rowe gave the committee an update on the February 2021 State Building Commission meeting and an overview of the 2021-23 capital budget hearing held by the State Building Commission in mid-March. As the State Building Commission did not agree on any of Governor Evers' recommendations, the Legislative Joint Finance Committee is expected to take up the capital budget later in this legislative session. Also, UW-Madison provided a PowerPoint presentation on the preliminary findings and current status of the concrete panel collapse at Van Hise Hall. It outlined investigatory efforts to date and proposed a series of actions, including panel removal, new handrails, and exterior envelope protection. Collaboration efforts are ongoing between UW-Madison's facility planning and management staff, the Department of Administration, and the UW system team. External structural experts are also evaluating structural integrity. The committee considered 5 resolutions. On behalf of UW-Madison, the committee considered and approved item D to extend the lease for space for a research laboratory at University Research Park. The continuation of this lease will support sensitive grant-funded research taking advantage of Biosafety Level 2 and Biosafety Level 3 laboratories that already exist in this facility and are not available anywhere else on campus. Also, on behalf of UW-Madison, the committee approved item E to transfer ownership of a Department of Public Instruction building to the Board of Regents and to construct 2 gift-funded renovation projects to consolidate, co-locate, and strategically rethink space utilization in accordance with the university's master plan. The first renovation project will convert the former Department of Public Instruction building into a new home for the DoIT Digital Publishing and Printing Services unit as they relocate out of the Environmental Health and Safety building. And the second project relocates the physical plant shops, administrative staff, and other units from the service and the service annex buildings to different university buildings. These projects are sequential, interdependent, and are the initial enabling phases of planned space reconfigurations. On behalf of the UW system, the committee reviewed and approved item F to construct 2 minor facilities renewal projects. First, for UWM, the project repairs the external masonry, limestone, sandstone, and metal facade elements and replaces the exterior windows, screens, and storm window units in Mitchell Hall. Second project repairs the south entrances of the McGaw Hall at UW-Whitewater and improves ADA accessibility connections with the adjacent pedestrian routes. Item G, also on behalf of the UW system, was approved by the committee to construct 3 all-agency maintenance and repair projects. The first project renovates a portion of UWM's Golda Meir Library to provide a consolidated location for the archive's collections, staff, and public services. Existing plumbing and mechanical systems will be modified to serve the renovated space and provide a new dedicated air handling unit that will maintain desired temperatures and humidity control. Second project makes structural repairs and applies waterproofing to the underground deteriorated utility tunnel from the central heating plant at UW-Oshkosh to Swart Hall. The third project, this one at UW Stevens Point, implements 4 energy conservation measures based on a recently completed energy audit of 13 residence halls, the 601 Division Street building, and the 3 gymnasiums in the Marshfield Clinic Champions Hall. Energy savings will be achieved by upgrading interior lighting and installing a new solar photovoltaic array on the roof of the chemistry and biology building. Finally, the committee reviewed and approved Resolution H, which amends Regent Policy Document 1912, Oversight of Facilities Constructed for the University's Purposes, to update the policy, meet the standards of a Regent policy document, and clarify the provisions of the policy. No substantive changes were made to the policy. Closing, I'd like to move items D, E, F, G, and H.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. We have a motion. May I have a second?
Second, Klein.
Second, Regent Klein. I'll note that we have 2 abstentions for Regent Weatherly on item D and Regent Stanford Taylor on item E, who's joined us since. Regent Weatherly?
My apologies, I misspoke earlier. It was item on business. Oh, I misspoke.
Okay, we'll make that. Yep.
I did not vote on it. I did not vote.
No, you got the right one.
Yep.
Oh, I do.
Yep.
Okay. Here we are, right back where we started. Better to be safe than sorry. Regent Stanford Taylor has joined us, so I wanted her to know that we've already denoted that. Discussion on capital planning and budget matters. Okay. Thank you, Mike. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll now move on to the Ready Committee and Chairman Atwell. I'm going to make a note. I've heard from the audio team that if you can speak into your microphones, that would be greatly appreciated. I have no concerns with Chairman Atwell, but with that, I'll make the announcement. Turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Regent President Bailing.
You're welcome.
The Ready Committee reviewed and approved the minutes of the February 4th, 2021 meeting, and committee members heard 2 presentations. First, we heard an update from host campus UW-Stout, which demonstrated the Polytechnic University's impressive work in applying advanced virtual technologies to learning modules in manufacturing settings. Bear with me. Chancellor Catherine Frank set the stage for the presentation as she said, Wisconsin's Polytechnic teaches students to take a problem and turn it sideways, a phrase we heard several times yesterday. She noted that 100% of UW-Stout students graduate with at least one experiential opportunity that prepares them to be highly sought after in the workforce. During Ready, a contingent of UW-Stout faculty, staff, and students demonstrated how cross-disciplinary collaboration has resulted in using applied learning to solve immediate problems in an industry setting. They previewed the Buzz Digital Project, an online simulation that incorporates lean manufacturing principles to shift learning that is typically completed in person in a virtual format. They did this very quickly in the face of the onset of the pandemic, and it was very impressive to hear about it. Significantly, the development of this simulation has led to co-op and internship opportunities for students, in addition to providing a path to valuable industry solutions that can be scaled and adapted to a variety of situations all across the U.S. Our next agenda item represented a highlight of our work at Ready each year, the recognition of the 2021 UW System Regent Scholar recipients. President Thompson joined us in honoring UW System's newly selected Regent Scholar Award recipients. This program provides prestigious one-time grants to individual faculty or campus programs that undertake undergraduate research projects having the potential to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, and talent development. Faculty from across the UW system submitted entries for consideration, and the submissions were evaluated by a statewide committee of reviewers with technical, scientific, and business backgrounds. Our thanks go out to WISIS and to my Regent colleague Kyle Weatherly, who has served on that committee a number of years before he became a Regent and helped coordinate the whole process here. And to our distinguished panel of statewide experts from WEDC and from business and industry who helped select the Regent scholars. Our 3 innovative faculty recipients this year represent the best and the brightest among our talented faculty across the UW system. UW system 2021 Regent scholars include Dr. Francis Mann from UW Parkside, Dr. Hejun Sun of UW Whitewater, and Dr. Abba Udvadia of UW-Milwaukee. Their work in biology, autonomous vehicles, and gene therapy serve as prime examples of what President Thompson calls the new Wisconsin idea. As our campuses and their business partners combine the power of research and collaboration to improve lives, provide innovative solutions, and build a strong economic future for all Wisconsin residents. My fellow Ready Committee members wholeheartedly concur with President Thompson, who said of these Regent scholars, "You make us all proud." Regent President Peterson, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Atwell. Any questions for Bob as it relates to the Ready Committee?
Or anything else.
There's plenty of stuff I'd like to send your way. Okay, at that juncture, that concludes the Ready Committee. We're now going to go back to the Audit Committee. I'll turn it over to the Chair of the committee, Regent Karen Walsh, to provide the Audit Committee report.
Thank you, Regent President Peterson. The Audit Committee met yesterday morning, and we began by welcoming our newest member, Regent John Miller, with great pleasure. Chief Audit Executive Lori Stewart reviewed the progress to date on the fiscal year 2021 audit plan. She confirmed that her office is making excellent progress and expects to bring more reports to the committee in June and July. Ms. Stewart then provided a high-level summary of the results of audits recently issued by the Office of Internal Audit. This included executive summaries for the Foreign Influence Audit, the Independent Contractors Audit, the Information Technology Disaster Recovery Audit, and the Non-Competitive Negotiations Audit. Overall, she was pleased with the responses from management. We appreciate the areas that her team is focused on as they're vitally important to the UW system. Ms. Stewart then presented a report on the UW system hotline. She's been working on a collaboration across the system to refresh the communication strategy to rebrand and rename the hotline. The goal is to ensure all members of our campus community know that the hotline is a tool at their disposal and that cases submitted are addressed and resolved in a timely manner. Ms. Stewart indicated a soft launch is planned in June, and she expects to bring updated information to the committee when we next meet. For new Regents, that hotline is for employees to report waste and fraud types of things. And lastly, from the Office of Internal Audit, Ms. Stewart covered the progress made on closing audit comments. Understandably, the pandemic shifted priorities across the system. That's not an understatement. But they have made good progress, and management has been responsive at both the campus and system levels. Ms. Stewart plans to have her office continue working on closing audit comments in the next 3 to 6 months. Title IX and Clery Administrator Sarah Harebo gave an update to the committee about the progress being made toward compliance with the new Title IX requirements. The final draft of Regent Policy Document 14-2, Sexual Violence and Sexual Harassment, is expected to come before our committee in June. There's been good collaboration during this process, and they continue to evaluate ways that can support the campuses, answer questions, and work with the Office of General Counsel. Director of Compliance and Integrity, Katie Ignatowski, provided a demonstration to the committee regarding the Compliance Matrix tool, which was modeled after a tool used by UW-Madison. It currently contains over 500 obligations of federal laws, state laws, and Regent policies. All campuses have responded and have identified the responsible parties for each item on their campus. Ms. Ignatowski explained that for items with a due date, the Matrix tool will automatically generate email reminders to the responsible parties 90, 60, and 30 days in advance of the due date in order to facilitate compliance. This tool can be used for collaboration with peers across campuses and can house reference materials that will be useful during times such as onboarding new employees. She also stated that they are starting to gain national attention for this compliance tool, which is very impressive. And I asked her to think about monetizing it since a lot of people are interested. At any rate, that concludes my report, President Peterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Walsh. Just a couple of comments. At the leadership of Karen, the audit committee has been as busy as we've seen them, whether it be internal audits, traditional audit activities, compliance-related growth and development, sophistication, and then Title IX matters. You know, we've seen those all come through the board, but the work that goes on behind the scenes is pretty significant. Substantially significant, I would say. This is a committee that doesn't often bring resolutions before the full board, but please understand the kind of work that's getting done behind the scenes is pivotal for our students, our faculty, our staff, and our campuses. And I think it bears a recognition.
Thank you. And also, I would like to recognize Lori Stortz and the members of her audit team. We're very fortunate to have such skilled folks at our disposal.
Any other comments related to the audit committee? Okay, seeing none, that wraps up our committee reports for the morning, and we're going to now shift to item number 8. We'll turn our attention to the UW System's Expanding Online Education Initiative. You'll recall that this was one of the key initiatives included in the UW System's biennial budget request, which was approved by the board last August. Before we get started, I know President Thompson would like to say a few words, so I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, President Peterson, and I want to thank the board for trusting me to put forth the budget way back in 6 months ago, and including 10, I think, tremendous innovative ideas and moving forward to advance the university, one of which is the one we're going to discuss today, and that is online learning. The UW Systems biennial budget request included a number of these key initiatives, including a recommendation that we expand the opportunities for online education to bring higher education to more citizens of Wisconsin. If you remember correctly back then, I said we have approximately 815,000 Wisconsin adults who have some college credits, some vocational credits, but no degree. They have a homegrown avenue to earn that degree or other credentials now, while also maintaining their other commitments to a job or family. If we set this up right, I think we can get a lot of those individuals back on our campuses or on the vocational campuses in order to get either credentialed or get a degree. And according to the 2017 U.S. Census, and the survey data that I have seen, plus discussing with Deloitte Consulting and McKinsey Consulting, there's about 300,000 of those 815,000 residents in Wisconsin that would actively seek and be very fertile ground for us to contact in order to recruit for some form of higher education. The majority want online options with non-credit work-related training preferred to 2-to-1 over degree offerings. That was interesting to me. Enhanced online opportunities also offer new options for lifelong learning and career advancement. The bottom line is, here in Wisconsin, businesses want and need more people with the very education as well as the skills that this population is seeking. We all need that if Wisconsin is able to continue to enjoy the high quality of life that we appreciate here in this great state. The University of Wisconsin has an opportunity to connect the needs of both employers and potential employees and former students. While our 13 campuses have invested in and have experienced some successes in delivering online content, as has the University of Wisconsin Extended Campus. And I would like to point out the University of Wisconsin Extended Campus has got more students than all of our other colleges combined on online courses, and rightly so. They have not been very well funded, and I think we need to rectify that. But we also have to be concerned about the very successful out-of-state providers. I call them the barbarians at the gate. Western Governors University and Southern New Hampshire. Little Southern New Hampshire's got a budget of $100 million in budgeting and are advertising all over the country. New Hampshire spent an estimated $3.1 million in marketing in Wisconsin to enroll 2,500 Wisconsin residents, which is sending $17.5 million in tuition out of state. That's the Southern University of New Hampshire, nearly doubling their enrollment in 2 years. If you combine all out-of-state online competitors, the marketing investment and tuition dollars leaving the state is 3 to 4 times larger. So we're losing the fight. Just so everybody knows that we have not engaged in this fight. Purdue, for instance, is really doing a tremendous job under my former colleague, Mitch. And they have not come into Wisconsin yet, but Purdue is going to come and start advertising Wisconsin after they get more secure in Chicago. They're doing all their advertising in Chicago now. Their next step after Chicago is to come into Southern Wisconsin. In order to best compete with these large out-of-state online providers as a system, we have to make changes if we want to be able to compete in this very fertile arena. The changes we are proposing are focused on 3 areas. First, a relentless consumer focus that includes both the adult learner looking for that better career opportunity and employers. And we need to make sure we are best preparing those students with the knowledge and/or skills they need, which their employers are demanding. Second, increased flexibility. The online education market operates at a pace that is currently leaving the University of Wisconsin way behind. We need to build an online effort with the flexibility necessary to respond to evolving educational demands. And third, we need to maximize resources, whether it's investments made by campuses or efforts to organize online efforts. We have to do a better job maximizing past and future resources to attract consumers in what is clearly a highly competitive online market. We also need to make sure we continue to identify investment needs and go after them in a unified manner. When I appeared last Wednesday in front of the Education Committee in Green Bay, the first question by the chairman, Chairman Roth, was, when are you at the university going to start competing against all of this advertising that's coming into the state of Wisconsin? He says, I hear it when I go to bed at night. I hear it in the morning when I get up. Somebody is advertising out of state for our students to come to their particular university. I said, that's the initiative that we put in front of you, and we would like to have your support. I also would like to point out that McKinsey and Deloitte said that if you're not in the online space right now, you probably are going to be left behind. We are barely in it. They said unless you're in it within the next 3 years, it's going to explode exponentially. So if the University of Wisconsin system is going to be a player, and I'm not going to be here, but several of you will be, please remember my words. If we do not do it today and get involved this year with online and convince the legislature, the University of Wisconsin is going to be left behind. Small University of New Hampshire made the decision they were going to put all their dollars into online advertising and get students. Universities, which is very small compared to our system, is doubling and quadrupling their size and bringing out-of-state students into their campus, not to their campus, but to their university system by advertising and getting them online. My good friend Jeb Bush has started up a company in Florida and Texas, and they're competing. They got a contract with some of our universities now to furnish them online education. Western Governor are advertising in the state of Wisconsin. Purdue, I told you, will be coming in within the next 2 years after they secure their foothold in Chicago. Mitch is doing a great job in Purdue, and he's very strategic. He builds a foothold, and then he moves on to the next, just like a general trying to gobble up territory. So it's this board that's going to have to contend with this particular problem. And I want to win. You know me, I can't stand losing. And I want to make darn sure that we set up and get ready, and I want to give this message to the legislature. Now, Vice President Morabel Sosa, who's just done an outstanding job in this area, is going to explain the needs and the expectations of these potential students, which are quite distinct from the traditional college students that we currently service. And our offerings and approach need to reflect that if we're going to be the ones to provide what they're looking for. And now I want to also know that you're being contacted by other of our system schools that believe that they would like to run this operation. And that's fine. And I'm setting up a 3-hour meeting on the 22nd of this month to go over all of their concerns and trying to develop a consensus. But the issue is, and I'll be very straight with you, as I always am, the issue is they would like to have the money on their campuses and to do it. And I think that's a tantamount to losing, because you're dividing up whatever little pot of money we're going to be able to get from the legislature. And I don't think they're going to give us much. And you're going to want to divide that up 13 ways. You're never going to be able to compete with the barbarians at the door. That's my big concern. And I'm going to listen, and hopefully we can come to an agreement. Because if we can come to agreement, we're going to be a lot stronger and a lot better and be able to have a much better program. And I'm willing to make a lot of concessions in order to make that happen. And that's why I'm bringing all the chancellors, the provosts in for a 3-hour meeting on the 22nd to discuss this. But that is basically the issue. There are other issues, but the issue always comes down to money. So just so you know that. So we're going to continue to have these further discussions, and I hope that we can reach an agreement. And I'm not being critical, because they've got good programs and they've done a good job on their campuses, and I like what they're doing. It's just not big enough, fast enough to be able to compete with the barbarians at the door. So that's that. With that, I will turn the floor over to Vice President Morabel Sosa. Ani?
Thank you, President Thompson. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I don't know how to follow that one. But what I'm going to do right now is guide you through what is the issue at hand and also why we believe it is important to address now. Next slide, please. So you've heard quite a bit about the famous 815,000, but they're only a subset of what the demographic implications of the more recent changes coming to Wisconsin will be. We have an aging population. Expected residents of 65 years or older will double within the next 15 years. But even of more concern is that our birth rate has declined considerably, meaning then a decrease in high school graduates and therefore a decrease in the available college market. 30% of our population have a baccalaureate degree or higher. That is less than the national average at about 36. 5% of our population are veterans or active in the military, and we need to do a better job in addressing their needs. Our tribal population, about 50,000, we also need to work better to engage them in the educational process. Our prison population is also of concern, and it is one of the initiatives that President Thompson has identified. But of this 815,000 that have some college credit and no degree, we know that approximately 300,000 of them, through a survey conducted by the Census Bureau, are the ones truly interested in pursuing education. And this is the group that we want to address now, that working adult population. But I want to make sure that you know that this is not a singular act. This is part of the renewed Wisconsin idea that President Thompson has spoken much about. And we focus it as an opportunity for all, where initiatives that he has begun and initiatives that existed before he came are all connected to provide an educational opportunity for our students that begin with the university being accessible, flexible, relevant, and allow for engagement in lifelong learning. Underneath all of these areas, you'll clearly see some of the initiatives that we have focused on. They're all connected. They're all intended to be part of this renewed Wisconsin idea. But let me focus now on the issue of online education and online enrollment in particular. Doing an analysis through an organization entitled NCSARA, complication. It's the National Council for State Authorization Reciprocity Agreements. This is an institution that accounts for online education across state boundaries and ensures the quality of that online education. This organization consists of states and provinces and locations throughout the United States, with the singular exception of California. Here you'll see how all our institutions engage in online enrollment. And what you see is the Wisconsin residents. These are the folks that we are interested in looking at. So we have barely a total of 10,000 Wisconsin residents engaged in some online enrollment. One of the difficulties of identifying this population is that the way that NCSARA accounts for this is that any program that is taken 50% or more online is considered under this rubric. IPEDS, which is another national federal organization, looks at things differently. NCSARA changed its method of calculating this in 2019/2020. They do all of their surveys. Institutions present the materials directly to them. All of these happen in the spring, but what is accounted for are enrollments that occurred in the prior fall. Next, please. So while you have seen that we have done really well, Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Stout as and Whitewater as the top four, all in the thousands, in the 1,000, this is how we fare with the top 25 institutions that handle or have enrollments in the state of Wisconsin. You'll notice that the largest one of these is one of our technical colleges, Moraine Park. I also want to focus on North Central Tech. And you heard from President Thompson the issue of Western Governors and Southern New Hampshire. What is interesting about these two institutions is that inevitably, if they are Wisconsin residents enrolled in these programs, they are not hybrid also. They are not taking part of their programming outside and face-to-face in either New Hampshire or in Utah. Another piece that is important to identify here is how the next breakdown, not just the top 10, but the next 11 to 25 fall in. And in this case, you'll notice that the out-of-state institutions that admit and enroll students from Wisconsin is pretty significant. Bottom line, what is important for us to take a look at is that of the total top 25, we, the UW system, accounts for about 37% of enrollment of Wisconsin residents. The technical colleges account for about 32%, and the out-of-state, about 31%. Now, let me remind you, this is all fall 2018 data. One of the ways in which we compare apples to actual apples. The 2019 data was really complicated because the spring of 2020 was when they began surveying for the fall of 2019. Spring 2020, we had COVID. And the subsequent calculations are also making it complicated because that entire year, most institutions nationwide had a variety of approaches to teaching, many with online education. If you just take a look at this and do a back of the envelope calculation, the total out-of-state tuition of these 25 constitutes about $50 million. That's $50 million that Wisconsin residents pay to non-Wisconsin institutions. The enrollment is about 12,000, and marketing investment is about almost $9 million. So what is important to indicate here is that in barely 2 years, in looking again at data that is comparable year by year, in 2016, 2017, there were 11,000 Wisconsin residents enrolled in online degree programs. In 2 years' time, that just about doubled, slightly more than that. There were only 2 programs that enrolled about 1,000 students. Now that is even doubled more by just the presence of 2 institutions. Now, let me just remind you, Western Governors was created exclusively as an online institution. Southern New Hampshire is a private university that began as a campus, a residential campus, and it is now expanded completely. Now, how did we get to this point? President Thompson indicated we began by taking a look at best practices through the consultation of individuals and organizations from outside of the system. This was done primarily to understand both the feasibility and a competition analysis, trying to understand, is this feasible for us? Could we be competitive? So we spoke with selected leaders, with Purdue Global, Arizona State, and Western Governors. And we also spoke to individuals at Bain Consulting, McKinsey, and Deloitte. We also spoke with businesses and Microsoft. We also spoke with local businesses in the state of Wisconsin to get a sense of what their expectations and their needs were. Then we began our internal series of conversations, also to take a look at feasibility and capacity analysis. The capacity analysis is very important because it has to do with, can we present to the students and the consumers? One of the things that is important is that consumers we see as not only the working adult, but the place where they work or the business employer where they are. So we began this conversation then internally within system. Chancellors, provosts had meetings with a meeting with the faculty shared governance group, and we intend to continue these conversations. As you may have heard in my comments yesterday, some of these conversations have been contentious and difficult, but they are both necessary and important, and we intend to continue with that. One of the things that it was very clear after consultation with many people was that we have clear challenges to growing online programming. The most important one of which was the identification that scale actually matters. Both the quantity and the quality of the programming that we deliver is important. But so is marketing. And how do we know which programs to deliver? We need to do better market research analysis. On the programming is developed by our faculty throughout our universities. The issue, though, there is the faculty capacity, not only in terms of content knowledge, but an experience in online development of courses and online delivery. We were very fortunate recently to receive new funding from a very gracious donor to expand our ability for engaging in faculty and learning more about how to teach better online. Over that period of time, which was about 10 months, we doubled the capacity of our faculty to teach online. That is an example of the benefit that new unexpected funding provided to us managed through the system. The second one is that we need a shorter speed to market to remain both competitive and responsive. President Thompson alluded to that. And then lastly, many of these individuals, these 300,000, are not necessarily interested in completing a degree. What they are interested is in being able to address immediate needs that allow them to either scale up or reskill. So overall, we developed not only with the academic programming that we currently have, but also taking a look at the business models in comparison. And what I want you to focus on here is the fact that we need to be able to develop career-ready programming. Not that we have not done so before, we just need to do it better and differently. We need to ensure that we have seamless support for our students, mostly because this group of working adults have different set of expectations than a typical 17 or 18-year-old. This is what constitutes course and program redesign. We also need to be able to focus on the collective, not necessarily the singular, although from some of our institutions, that may be the best approach. We will need to align best practices to provide growth incentive. One of the three areas that I really want you to think through is that in order for us to be able to deliver this kind of programming to a new set of students heretofore attracted to us, is that we need to be flexible, as President Thompson said, and committed to that flexibility so that we develop not only multiple modes of delivery for these students, but also present even an unbundled calendar. For example, Georgia Tech has established what they called mini-mesters within a single semester. That kind of consumer focus and increased flexibility and maximizing of resources is also reflected in the fact that we need to make sure that we announce and declare a curriculum that is connected to careers, so that these individuals identify a return on investment, both of their time, energy, and dollars, and a seamless continuity for the possibility for these students to move in and out. Unfortunately, for these folks, life happens, life intervenes, and a rigid semester structure is not necessarily the best option for them. Lastly, we have established what we believe is a sound 4-point plan for how to engage in this. By recognizing that we have to invest in more rapid program development and streamlining of the approval process. This does not mean the absence of faculty and institutional review and governance. It just means we need to do it faster. We also want to make sure that we provide an increased awareness of both existing and new programming as they are developed with enhanced marketing. With new dollars, we propose that enhanced marketing to be triple what we currently provide. And we also are looking for increasing participation of our institutions by providing an enhanced program revenue through a budget process and a model that we will continue to discuss. And lastly, the unbundling of everything. This is something that is demanded by the consumer. It is not an academic concept. And this is where we focus on the education consumer. As President Thompson has indicated, This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We need to be truly strategic in our thinking, especially given declining enrollments, declining revenue, and demographic changes. We have no option but to act boldly now or fall behind. Our competition will continue. It will not sit back and wait for us to do anything. And just as the Wisconsin idea promotes education and knowledge beyond the borders of our campuses, strategic solutions of this type require that we also go beyond institutional boundaries. President Thompson, if you have any final comments before we take questions. Be more than happy to
Back to you,
entertain questions.
Mr. President, to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you, Ani, for that presentation. I'll start with some questions. I'll queue up Regent Klein, Chair of the Education Committee first. Tracy.
Thank you, President Peterson. Dr. Rumbo Sosa, Governor Thompson, great job. And I want to just give my voice on endorsement on this initiative. And I just want to just put a framework on it as far as Education Committee and what we think and what I think is really important on us, for us all to remember. First of all, this is something that we identified,
Tracy, I'm sorry. Could you take your mask off so I can hear you?
Okay, so a couple of us.
Thank you very much.
Couple of us really felt strongly that the system had to move in the direction of online education. And we expressed this, first we expressed it to Dr. Morville Sosa, and then, Governor Thompson, we expressed it to you early on in your tenure. We said, this is critical. And, oftentimes we as Regents say things and nothing happens. I'm sorry, that's true. This one, Governor Thompson and Dr. Morville Sosa took this up and made it an initiative that's real. And so I couldn't be more pleased, because what I look at Purdue Global, and my daughter went to Northwestern, so you have Northwestern Medicine, and you look at all the menu of online offerings and how it's consolidated, the professional, the certificates, and you feel a sense of, just professionalism. This is what I want to be part of. And it's really a huge deal to students. So I seek for that to be our story as well. Now, we have an institutional impediment here that we are a collaborative organization. Talk about University of New Hampshire, it's probably this big, and we're enormous, and we have many institutions within our family of universities. And I just want to put a point on this. First of all, I would say our chancellors and our provosts are our greatest resource. And I don't want to, and I know nobody else wants to, I want to be respectful of what they say. I want them to be heard. At the end of the day, however, this is something where the Board of Regents, and they do have responsibility per the statute for the academic offerings that they offer in their campuses, subject to this board's approval rights on policy. So what I would say very strongly is I don't see us being able to do it on a campus by campus basis, maybe with the exception of the resources at Madison. It has to be a unified strategy. The branding has to be unified, and it's going to be hard because we're going to step on toes as we go around and make this transfer. So what I would ask is that we be supportive of this initiative as a board, but also that we take the time to make sure people are heard, and we ask our chancellors and our provosts, be good partners on this one, because we ought to be able to figure out a model where we can collaborate. And I look at freshwater and say, hey, that seems to be working throughout the system. Let's develop some models so we can collaborate among campuses and move faster so that we're more competitive. And I don't know, that's my summary of where we are, but I want to just say I endorse this, and I think it's an excellent, thank you, Governor Thompson. Thank you. You moved fast, and it's hard work, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman Klein.
Thank you.
Very good comments. And I know, and President Thompson referred to it, there will be sort of what I think we're internally referring to as a summit later this month to get that input from chancellors, from provosts. Need to continue to have conversations with faculty governance. The challenge of rapid change is difficult for all of us. To your point, we are a very large, complex organization, And we do online well today. We need to do it better. We need to do it in a collaborative fashion. We need to do it quickly. And I think that's the initiative here, but we can't be the enemy of the good. We have to get the best ideas brought forward. We have to give this to have some optionality, but we have to make it clearly perceived as the right direction to go going forward. And I think that's the intent of Vice President Maribel Sosa, certainly President Thompson, and I think very much your committee writ large. Regent Saffold.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, President Peterson. I really like the direction that this is going, being a person that has studied 100% online. I like the expansion of it. I remember periods where I had to wait a period of time to take a class because it just wasn't available. And obviously that affects timing. So hearing about the increase in the quantity of classes, having more accelerated programs, there were some classes that because of life experience that I really could have just tested out of, did not need to take. So having that flexibility. So I really, really liked the direction this is going. I remember being a police officer and receiving numbers of advertisements from Upper Iowa and Phoenix and never anything from a UW system school. And I had to reach out. And so I completely agree. And I also want to share in endorsing the direction that we're going with this. And I too hope we can reconcile and kind of and collaborate with shared governance and their concerns. But I really like the direction we're going with this.
Thank you, Regent Saffold. I have not been as close to this as the Education Committee, but the biggest issue that you hear from those 815,000 students is calendar issues. The time to degree that it takes to get the curriculum that I need to matriculate has always been an impediment. And the ways that we talked about eliminating that calendar challenge, I think is a step towards good. Dr. Hall, and then Dr. Boat. Correct. Congratulations. Doctor of Law. Go ahead, Eve.
Well, as a member of the Education Committee, I also endorse and support online and the direction that we're going, because I believe that we are also meeting the needs of the consumer, and that's what's really critical. The other thing is, I don't hear us saying that those schools who are already strong in online should discontinue what they're doing. And I think so often in change, people are always thinking about what they're going to lose. And I think in this case, we have to look at those schools who are strong, they stay strong. But now we're looking at this collective effort where we're promoting the UW system, which is going to include all of the schools in the system. So, I think as you have the meeting with, our chancellors, and thank you for doing that, President Thompson, let's hear what is being said, but I'm just, speaking in terms of change that we're all going through. This is collective. It's going to help the university system as a whole. And then our individual campuses can continue to promote the way that they do. But we're looking at a system promotion. So again, kudos to both of you for pushing that.
Thank you. Regent Bogos.
Thank you, President Peterson. And thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. So I'm not really familiar with all the permutations, and I know there are a lot of campuses that already do a really good job, and hopefully we can learn from them and collaborate with them. I just wanted to mention that I'm part of the National Tribal Trial College, which is a program. It's kind of like a mini law school for Native Americans to learn how to basically be a lawyer and going into tribal colleges. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of these people don't have advanced degrees, but they're doing a 6-month online program. And then the last week is spent at UW-Law School in the summer. And what we've found over the last 6 years, and I just wanted to mention this, and I'm sure that, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but these people have very busy lives. And if you look at the 815,000 people, it's great that we're speeding up the programs, but attrition is a huge problem. And I think one thing that we've really learned is that there has to be a real live person that actually can come into these programs and cheer them on. So everything is important, but we've been able to maintain an increased number of, the first year we lost 50%. Now this year we've lost no one, which we're really proud of. So it's because these people, it's really scary if you don't have any degrees to go on and sort of feel isolated and by yourself. So we have to recognize that there's a reason why these people, economic reasons or whatever it is, and knowing who you're working with. So it's just really an important thing to remember that there still has to be a voice for them online. So, and I'm sure all the campuses know the culture of their students better than perhaps we do. So it'd be good to tap into that resource as well. So.
Seems to me that a part of that is about intensive advice.
Correct. If I may interject, Regent Bogus, thank you for that comment. We have a very good example within the system. Extended Campus, for example, has an 80% retention rate. That's double the national average. And it is because of intrusive advising and intrusive coaching. Many of our institutions do the same, but this is one model that we can point to also.
We brought other university institutions in for whatever it be, whether it's enrollment management or just matriculation through schools. That intrusive advising, staying on top of people, coaching them, and advocating for them is what clearly makes the difference in retention and growth. Regent Woodmansee, and then Regent Manatees.
Thank you. I'm going to take this off. Thank you so much for this presentation. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to see where this initiative goes. I'm especially excited to see kind of the circulation of marketing needs and how we can use those funds to better help all of our institutions. I know that's something that this program will have. This presentation was primarily about the implementation of new programs. I'm wondering how Distance Education Plus will affect current online programs at our institutions.
Well, thank you, Regent Woodmansee. Clearly, one of the things that we need to focus on is on the strengths of the work that our institutions are already doing. And so, as Regent Hall indicated, this is not a question of losing, but identifying what we have done really well and expanding and making that more knowledgeable or to other people. That's why marketing is going to be really critical, so that we can support not only the individual programming at institutions, but also focus on the collective.
Regent Woodmansee, it's pretty hard to sell a program without telling anybody about it. And we haven't had any money to tell anybody about the program. We've grown well. Extended campuses, remarkably well without any advertising dollars, so to speak. And they're growing very nicely. But you gotta now tell the story, and you gotta boost this so that we can start competing. Otherwise, we're down here and we gotta get up here in order to be able to compete. The big behemoths are way up here. And we may never catch them, but we gotta try.
Regent Manatees.
Thank you,
Yep.
Regent President Peterson and President Thompson. I just want to reiterate that we talked about shared governance in the Education Committee because it's important. And I was so happy to hear that the faculty working group, the provost and the chancellors will be contacted. You mentioned a date, that you're going to listen, hear, and be flexible, and also make concessions if necessary to get this group together. We all need to be together. I know you can do it. And I'm looking forward to hearing.
I've done it before. I'm not sure this one is going to be successful. I'll try.
I'm going to count on your ability to do those things and ask all of those groups to do the same thing, to listen, to hear, to be flexible, make concessions, to help us make this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go to Regent Bechtel and then to Regent Atwell.
Thank you, President and Vice President. What I find refreshing is that we just got a business proposal. We talked about market share. We talked about barbarians at the gate. This is a real life business issue, and I appreciate the attack that we are taking on that. So if we want to retain and grow market share, if we want to improve delivery and awareness, right? That's the marketing piece of this educational asset that can be delivered to our citizens. And now we're going to go to the legislature. So now imagine Shark Tank, and you're trying to get funding. from your legislature.
Yeah, that's true.
You need harmony. You need cohesion. You need to speak with one voice. And to build on what Regent Manydeeds just spoke of, shared governance. And now he's left the room. Shared governance is a two-way street, right? Shared governance. And so I just want to underscore, just as Chairman Klein did, this board is endorsing this initiative. We speak with one voice as a board. This will happen. We want this to happen. The the citizens of our state need this to happen for the improvement of all. $50 million being sucked out of our state it doesn't need to happen. We can deliver this product better than our competitors. So let's do it. But we need, as you're doing these meetings, and this is where that's that partnership and the shared governance. The institutions need to understand that we're leading on this, that they're going to support this decision. We're all going to collaborate. That is our history. That is our process. We're going to do that. We'll be good stewards. We'll be listening. But each institution has to appreciate that the legislature is not going to fund something that is not going to get off the ground, or if there's a lot of noise. We can't have noise on this. So I would just, I guess I'd close with, together we rise, divided we fail.
Yeah, very good comments. This is a business case. It's focused on return on investment. It realizes you have to put some money forward to make success happen. It's got to be collaborative. It's got to be open. It's got to be transparent, but it's got to be accelerated, right? There's no time to waste here. Every single semester, every single week, there's opportunity that's being missed because that's the demand that we know exists in state and beyond.
And the diversity of the perspectives and voices around this table. We need to be listened to, and we need to push this through, and we encourage you to do so.
Thank you very much.
Scott. Regent Atwell, then Regent Levsouth.
Thank you. Great presentations. I'd like to add a note of uncharacteristic sunshine.
Start the tape.
I
Insofar-
didn't hear that. Could you say that one more time, Bob?
I'd just like to point out that, I mean, the business case is kind of built around preventing the outflow of tuition dollars. A highly effective digital product offers offensive opportunity outstate as well. And that's if we have a best-in-class product, it can compete for tuition dollars that is not available to our traditional institutions. So that's did that sound like sunshine? Okay, I'm going to revert to my normal, more characteristic.
Regent Levsouth. Back to you, Bob.
No, look, digital disruption is not a new phenomenon, right? We know that. And we can look at how traditional institutions respond to digital disruption. And we need to, I think, own the reality that typically they fail to respond effectively, and over the course of years are kind of shunted off to the side and to irrelevance. And I hope I don't have to name, well, I will name, obviously book selling, video distribution, and banking even is happening. This digital disruption is all over. And normally the traditional providers want to self-disrupt. That is, they want to preserve everything they have and then add a digital component to kind of compete. And typically that does not work because inevitably responding vigorously to the challenge of digital competition requires a lot of resources. And normally those resources do affect the resources available for the more traditional activities. So in our state, this problem is compounded by the fact that we have a tremendous amount of internal competition among our institutions, right? And so we're not only competing with each other for a declining pool of traditional students, but we're being disrupted from outside, and we're trying to preserve what we have rather than defining our own future. And as I think about my 4 years on the Regents and my 3 years remaining, I really feel very strongly that if I could contribute anything, it's to help us define our own future, of which digital is a really important component. And even though I talk like I have all the answers, I don't. And that's why we need to listen. And shared governance does mean shared governance, but we can't have our 13 institutions saying, do whatever you want, but don't change my life. It won't work. We need to change with courage. We need to change with confidence, and it is going to involve some pain. So I hope that, and I firmly believe there's a much brighter future and a much more effective way to serve our state, our students, and each other. But it's going to involve gaining efficiency on our campuses, continuing to gain efficiency on our campuses, both instructionally and in our administrative cost. And it's going to need a far more effective digital presence. I'm not sure how that should be developed. I really don't know, but I think we got to be honest. I got 3 kids that were involved in the digital transformation we just went through. The digital transformation we just went through in the face of COVID was a necessary thing, but it was a back-footed response to a pandemic. It was not a forward-looking strategy to how we're going to do things in the future. And I think a polite word for what the student experience has been digitally during the pandemic is adequate. So we got to be bold. We got to listen to each other. And if we just defend our traditional model while trying to divert a few or add a few resources, it's not a very compelling case to the legislature either. So thank you.
Yeah, good comments. You know, I do think a couple things. We have affordability on our side to begin with. We have brand that we can leverage in a very important way. You talked about change is difficult, but change for the better is where we need to go. And the digital transformation that took place because of the pandemic was almost a necessity. But there's some things that we've learned that you can leverage to supplement that pathway forward that can be better than adequate, needs to be better than adequate. And I think you got to learn from, we've got to get this curriculum out to, this is the best curriculum that you need. And I think that's what's partially going to be this focus. Regent Levso.
Well, thank you all. And I echo a lot of the comments that have already been made, but one area that I really think needs attention, and Regent Bogos brought that up, is the intensive advising that you need, the mentoring with this, and do we have the dollars that will support that? Because we find with our institutions that if you can get them beyond the 6-week hump, that people will stay with the program. So I really look at the need of, we're looking at online, and I totally endorse this and get this out to people, but also having the skills and the backup to help people get through a program like this, because some are just not familiar with format and how to execute with this. One thing, and with that, I like the concept, or it was talked about earlier with the mini mesters, just trying to shorten up getting the curriculum that's provided to people. The one question I have is, you keep talking acceleration and we need to get this out. What kind of timeline are we actually, what is a realistic, if we get the dollars, if we get the buy-in, the collaboration, what is a realistic target to really pull this forward and do a good job with it?
Ani, do you want to speak to that?
Well, we are projecting that if we get money at X point, within 12 months to 18, we should be up and running. And we project that between 2.5 to 3 years, we should be doing really well, because we have already a lot of work done by the institutions, as well as done through extended campus, that we can rely on with increased marketing to let people know the good work that we are currently doing.
And do you have specific, do you have specific areas that you're targeting to roll out with first, like certain professions or?
Yeah, clearly there are 3 areas that everybody knows and everybody's been working on: business, information technology, and health-related areas. Those are 3 that everyone has identified. But one of the things that we actually need to do is to also be able to serve those businesses or individuals that may not necessarily be affiliated with those, but we can support in some way. An example, artificial intelligence. One of the things that we need to try to identify is how many of these 300,000 and/or businesses need that kind of short-term or short courses to be able to provide them with that upskill and reskill. That is information that we currently do not have and we need to get.
Thank you.
We answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Great, Becky. Regent Walsh.
Thank you. So I want to pivot off something that Ani just said and prepare you all for what is going to be an enormous figure for a marketing budget. And coming from a communications background, I can tell you that can be a staggering cost. And Ani has actually shared with me some of the marketing budgets of these behemoths at the gate, if you will. It's staggering the amount of money that they spend to market themselves. So everyone at this board needs to be prepared to see an awfully big number. And those numbers, I got to tell you, in academia make people nervous because it feels like this is going into the ether and we aren't sure. If we're not prepared to look at that number and leap off the cliff with it, this will not succeed. We can't put efforts into developing courses and all the other things we're going to do and then short ourselves on marketing, because then it will come to naught. The other thing I would ask is, and Ani alluded to this and also Interim President Thompson, they've alluded to tensions with the campuses and the chancellors. And I would like to know when we as a board are going to be able to hear some of those concerns. There are a lot of smart people at this table who might be able to help us talk through or think through alternatives to them, but I don't feel like I've adequately heard what those concerns are. And if there's a way through it, number one, I want to hear from them where they are, but also if there's a way through it, there are some guideposts here at the table who will be able to help with that. So that's.
And Karen, we will be losing, you won't get a traditional ROI on those marketing dollars because our competitors they're not looking at an ROI, they're looking at a land grab.
They are.
Much like Amazon was willing to lose money in every market they've entered and destroyed until they destroyed the competitors.
Yes.
That's the model you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's staggering. So at some point, I think we all need to start sticking our toe in that pool and get familiar with what that number is likely to look like.
If I could just respond, if we don't start though, we're never going to get there. Purdue, as I've said, is coming in shortly. Arizona State is waiting. Arizona State wants it, is a BAMLs, and they want to come in all over the Midwest and take students. The advertising is going to increase from outside to take away our students. We have nothing to counter that with. We have to start. And people tell me that we probably will never become a BAMLs because we will never, ever be able to match dollar for dollar. University of Southern California, or New Hampshire, the Western Governors, or Arizona State. But we got to try at least to establish ourselves in that mid-tier. We may never get to the big tier, but we got to establish ourselves in order to start competing. That's number one. And number two, Regent Walsh, if you want to come to the meeting on the 22nd, I extend a welcome to you.
I'll be there.
Okay, you can certainly come.
And I think that
anybody else who wants
that
to
invitations to the full board. I mean, you see the collaboration here that of interest.
It's not, it is not vitriolic. I mean, to the extent there are some campuses that want us to do this. Some campuses just want me to get the money and turn it over to them. Some campuses just want to be able to design the products and not have extended campus to it. Some of these is irreconcilable. Somebody's got to make a decision, and I'm willing to make the decision. And I believe strongly, as I said at the beginning, you're only going to get one shot at this. If you wait, and it is a market play, Regent Bechtel, and it's a business program. And we're losing, and I hate to lose. And I want us to establish ourselves to the best we possibly can. I want as many campuses involved. And if they want to go their own way, they should have the optionality to do that. And I'm fully in favor of that. But there has to be some money spent in a centralized fashion in order to compete. And in Regent Woodmassey, you said it best, we got to tell the story. We have never told the story. The story's got to get out there. And I want as much cooperation as possible, but I want a program. The legislature wants a program, and the legislature will give us some money. But if we divide up the money 13 ways, why do it? Why do it? That's tantamount to losing. I want to establish a program that we have a chance to win. That's why I presented it to you when I presented the 10 ideas for the budget. And we can argue around it, but if it's the decision that everybody else is going to do this and have it, then that's fine. But don't expect to win. I want to win, and I want the University of Wisconsin with its brand to be out there front and center telling our story and getting as many people as we possibly can involved. Share the resources after we get it? Fine. Share the program? Fine, great. But there has to be a central development on advertising and development of credits in order to get the story out there, or you just can't win.
I don't think we can underestimate how much focus there is on us as a board to do the right thing here. It's unique that the Shark Tank, the legislature, comes to us and says, we know that folks like Corey Saffold are not getting marketed to. We know that you're missing opportunity. That is the new Wisconsin idea. If you can solve that problem, maybe not immediately, but if you put your shoulder into it and dedicate the resources to change that and make it more dynamic and make it more attractive and leverage the brand, that's the kind of thing that says this board is focused on the future, on innovation, and not doing things the same as we've done for decades. We're not going to do this overnight, but we can't not start the process and work towards cementing it. Maybe final comment from the chair of the committee, Regent Klein.
Yeah, I would just say, thank you, Regent President Peterson, and thanks again for this great presentation. I think that if we can develop a model on this where we actually move beyond, the individual campus perspective, that this might be really good for our system, because we see this again and again in many different transactions and issues. So let's work collaboratively. I'd like to be at the meeting. I might have to be virtual, but I'd like to be there. And then I think that it would be really helpful to have something like what we do with the Freshwater Collaborative, where Dr. Jablonski is kind of identifying these resources all over the system. We're trying to make sense of it, harmonize the offerings, because I don't think it's going to make sense to not continue down a collaboration route. Now, what that looks like, I have no idea. But our product is on those campuses, and we need to plumb that and then figure out a way to really propel this business model. So I'm all in on it and happy to work through it. I think it's a worthy exercise, and I commend you for doing it.
Thank you, Regent Klein. I'm going to go to Regent Weatherly, and for the folks on virtually, I don't want to neglect your opportunity to provide any commentary. So to our regents, and then perhaps any other of our stakeholders that want to say a few words, I'll come to you next. Go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you. I just want to share a little bit of my experience, anecdotal. I wanted to take a class at a UW summer. I applied online, the common application. Ever worked on that? After I applied, I got an email and I didn't look up the exact date. Finally was told. We're looking at reporting student. A, we set the expectations wrong. B, the idea that they're waiting 4 weeks for a decision. Not going to cut it. Another anecdotal story. Another institution where I applied on take some other classes this fall. Got an email, have a decision, 7 to 10 days. I haven't heard a word. We have a long way to go get to where from where we are right now. Operational excellence, part of this. Someone wants to take classes at you. Right now, we're not even close. But I assume our competitors. Fairness, I didn't apply at Western Governors. I didn't apply at Southern New Hampshire. But I know it.
And there's a credentialing component to it, but we live, to Bob's point, in an Amazon society where when I make a decision that I want to do that, I'd like it to be on my doorstep in a day or two. And likewise, when I make the decision to go back and do something very difficult that's going to be a burden to myself and my family, I don't want to have the opportunity to rethink that and talk myself out of it. We instead, I think, want to help people to get comfortable with that advising and that effort that says you can do this. Waiting 2 to 4 weeks probably doesn't help with that.
No, and I didn't even, talk for a second about remarketing, AdWords, or common sit like done with truly, let alone a follow-up of saying, hey, you haven't responded yet to your admission. What can we do to help you get?
Or what about the invasive nature of when you've started your application but haven't filed it? What if somebody reached out to you and said, is there anything I can do to assist you? That would move you along the pathway pretty quickly.
Chat window. Yeah.
No comments about internet service providers and whether or not they do anything for that effect. It's not us.
I'll leave the good or bad news. They did admit me, so I don't know if that's a positive or negative reflection.
Never a doubt. Let me pivot to people on our virtual meeting today. Any questions from our regents, Stanford Taylor or Peterson?
Thank you for the offer. My only comment, because I think we kind of covered the waterfront, is I'm happy to hear that President Thompson will be speaking with the chancellors and other campuses and other concerned folks regarding this, because I think it's going to be important that they hear this conversation that we've had this morning about the rationale for doing this and bring them on board with doing it. So I appreciate the conversation this morning.
Regent Peterson.
Just one quick comment. I go with everything that everybody said. I've been taking notes because I thought, and I've got an idea, something that I saw that I was going to send to you guys a month ago, and I'm going to make sure that I do that. And I would be also very interested in virtually, if possible, attending the chancellor's meeting.
Thank you, Chris. Any other comments from folks that are attending virtually today? Yeah, I can see a bit of a view. That said, I'll go one last time. Any comments from folks virtually? Okay, hearing none. Excellent presentation, Ani. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you all, and if I may say, I'm glad that I don't have any former colleagues that I can call barbarians, behemoths, or sharks. Thank you very much.
Excellent discussion. So it's now time for one of our most enjoyable responsibilities as this board, and that's the presentation of Regent Awards. Today, we present the annual Regents Teaching Excellence Awards, which recognize outstanding faculty and staff members in the UW system. This year, with the leadership of Ed Manideeds, we get to do something special, a doubleheader. Because of the pandemic, we were unable to present last year's recipients with their awards, so we'll have the opportunity today to recognize the winners from the 2019-2020 academic year, and then this year's winners. So to lead us in those awards, I'll turn the floor over to the chair of the awards committee, Regent Ed Manideeds.
Thank you, Regent President Peterson. Members of the board, I want to first tell you that this part of the meeting is in line for the Bob Atwell Sunshine Award. So he's not here, of course. So.
Step down.
That out of the way, on behalf of the Board of Regents, it's my pleasure to welcome our distinguished guests this morning, the recipients of both the 2020 and 2021 Regents Teaching Excellence Awards. We also welcome their families, friends, and colleagues who are joining us virtually for this award presentation today. The Regent Teaching Excellence Award recognizes and honors some of the system's most outstanding teachers, departments, and programs. This is the highest recognition bestowed by the UW system on members of its faculty and instructional academic staff for outstanding career achievements in teaching. It's a welcome reminder of what a treasure we have in our faculty and academic staff, those who bring that special dedication, creativity, and passion to their craft, and to whom we entrust the education and enlightenment of our citizens, helping students to achieve their fullest potential. Exceptional teachers can have a transformational effect on their students, helping students imagine and create futures for themselves they previously may not have thought possible. By instilling confidence in their abilities, exceptional teachers inspire their students to desire to set ambitious goals and to take risks. Perhaps each of you listening today can recall such a person in your life, someone who set you on a path to a fulfilling career or life calling. I know I can. As you are about to hear, we will get a glimpse of how our honorees today have motivated their students and their colleagues, and even themselves, to venture further than they thought possible in their higher education journey. First, we will honor the 2020 recipients, 2 professors and 1 academic program. We thank you for your patience. Last year's ceremony was postponed because of the pandemic, but now we have a bit more experience on how to hold these award ceremonies virtually, so we can finally give you the recognition you deserve. If anyone wants to learn a little bit more about our award winners, I invite you to check out their profiles on the Board of Regents website. Just one brief housekeeping note. At the time of the 2020 recipients were being selected, Regent Mike Jones and Regent Tracy Klein were both members of the selection committee, with Mike as a chair. Since then, both Regent Jones and Regent Klein have moved on to other committee assignments, so I'd like to thank them for their work in the 2020 selection. I also want to thank my fellow regents who are currently on the committee, who will be doing double duty in helping to present the 2020 awards this morning. Regent Becky Levzow, Regent Eve Hall, and Regent Carolyn Stafford Taylor. All of today's award recipients are impressive examples of the powerful impact that such excellent teachers can have on students' lives. We look forward to hearing from each of them in a few minutes. Regent Levzow will present our first 2020 award.
Thank you, Regent Manideeds. Good morning. I am honored to present our first 2020 Regents Teaching Excellence Award this morning to Dr. Jerry Hoepner, Associate Professor in the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders at UW-Eau Claire. Dr. Hoepner is known for creating transformative learning experiences for his students in his courses, in his research mentoring, and in clinical settings. Dr. Hoepner co-founded a disciplinary journal to share research on best practices for future speech language pathologists and audiologists. He also developed a think tank on communication science and disorders that began with 6 UW universities and expanded to become an Upper Midwest consortium. Dr. Hoepner likes to address real-world questions from his students. He implemented an apprenticeship model that asks his student researchers to review session videos first to form their own judgment before he meets with them. He also leads his department's instructional internship program, in which undergraduate students can be a part of the teaching team for courses they have already completed. Another example of his commitment to mentoring future speech-language pathologists, Dr. Hoepner's published research frequently includes students as co-authors and contributors. A colleague reflected that Dr. Hoepner, and I quote, firmly believes that all students can succeed and that some just need a richer, more hands-on experience to help them make that connection. He seeks out these types of students, provides that high-impact learning opportunity, and has had amazing results. It is my privilege and honor today to introduce our first 2020 Regents Teaching Excellence Award recipient, Dr. Jerry Hoepner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much to the Board of Regents. I'm so honored to receive
Dr.
this.
Hoepner, if you'd like to say some words, please.
Sure. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you so much to the Board of Regents. I'm so honored to receive the Regents Teaching Excellence Award. I'm a firm believer that surrounding yourself with brilliant people creates synergistic effects on teaching. I owe so much of my credit for teaching for all of those people around me. This includes an outstanding group of people at the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, specifically Cindy Elbert. One of my teaching mentors, Linda Carpenter, a faculty emeritus at UW-Eau Claire, kindled my interest in the scholarship of teaching and learning. This was fanned to flames by my colleagues from Teaching and Learning and Communication Sciences and Disorders Journal, a SOTL journal that we founded together. Being an editor keeps me connected with the evidence base in a way that wouldn't be possible if I had to rely on my own reading. That's because I not only read topics I think I would be interested in, but everything that others bring to the table as well, which typically just broadens my area of interest, which might be a problem. That I cannot say enough about the growth I've experienced through systematically evaluating my own teaching, and my closest partners in crime, Dr. Abby Hemrick and Dr. Tom Sather from UW-Eau Claire, Communication Sciences and Disorders, have been with me through this journey, We co-teach, we have daily conversations about teaching, and so do SOTL research together that always keeps us moving forward. Yes, we're nerds, but those daily conversations about teaching connect us with our learners. We keep each other grounded, and although we all encounter situations where we get frustrated with a learner or two, we help each other to look for the backstory and in turn find ways to support those students rather than to grumble about them. Most days, that's easy, as we have wonderful students and the outlook looks good for future of our discipline and our future in general. Having a department that values innovation in teaching and learning pushes me to create an environment where a wide range of students can learn. And I'm proud to say that my department was the recipient of the 2019 Departmental Teaching Excellence Award. A big part of a big part of this is our instructional internship program, and just listening to the students regarding what is clear and what is not clear and how we can keep adjusting. In our instructional internship program, we work alongside students who have taken the course previously to support current students and identify and support struggling students. Our weekly meetings are a source of constant learning for me as I find new blind spots that I may have missed in the past to help the students and with the help of the students. Ultimately, this helps us to continuously hone our approach and meet the needs of a diverse student body. I also want to give a shout out to the Wisconsin Teaching Scholars and Fellows Program, just a fabulous opportunity for growth and learning. And for OPID, who has funded several small conference grants to provide disciplinary social conferences and outreach here at UW-Eau Claire. Finally, I want to thank my family. My dad was a teacher for 37 years, and I guess some of that rubbed off. Teaching is in our genes. And I owe a great deal to my mom and my dad who are here today. My wife, Carol, and my daughters, Mariah and Maddie, listen to me all the time and allow me to bounce off ideas and just support me. I guess my takeaway is to surround yourself with good people and listen to them. So thank you to the Regents again for this great honor. And I do have one last comment after listening to the great discussion this morning. My department has been teaching fully online, along with offering fully in-person offerings for the last 12 years. And I think all of my colleagues and I would say teaching online has made us better teachers in both contexts, both in person and online. And not that I have any voice in this, but I agree with the Regents that we need to step into this opportunity. So thank you for this. Thank you so much.
And again, congratulations and thank you for all the opportunities that you provide. Thank you. Our next presenter will be Regent Hall.
Good morning. It is my privilege to present the second 2020 Regents Teaching Excellence Award to Dr. Richard Stewart, Professor of Transportation and Logistics Management at UW-Superior. Dr. Stewart is also Director of the Transportation and Logistics Research Center and co-director of the Great Lakes Maritime Research Institute. When he joined the faculty in 1999, Dr. Stewart brought to UW-Superior a vision to create a world-class transportation and logistics management major. Within 2 decades of his leadership, the program grew from 3 students to one of the largest programs in the university. His students definitely get out of the classroom, taking trips on Great Lakes vessels, as well as visiting shipyards, rail yards, and other facilities. Through Dr. Stewart's efforts, the UW-Superior program averages 26% women, well above the industry average of 10% women. The program also averages 26% international students. Dr. Stewart's students have been winners at state and national competitions. They comment that his courses challenge them intellectually, while also developing skills that are an asset in the workplace. A colleague had this to say about our honoree, quote, Dr. Stewart's graduates almost all receive employment immediately upon graduation, and that is due to their extraordinary pre-professional and liberal arts preparation. The reputation of Dr. Stewart is known by employers and community partnerships throughout the Midwest and the nation. On that note, please join me in welcoming our second 2020 award recipient, Dr. Richard Stewart of the University of Wisconsin-Superior. Dr. Stewart.
Thank you very much. Dear board members, I'm deeply touched to receive this honor. My achievements would not have been possible without the support of my dear wife, Kathy, my colleagues, the UW-Superior administration, the Twin Ports community, the UW-Superior alumni, and my wonderful students. My family has been in Wisconsin since 1832, with many members graduates of UW system universities, and I am the continuation of a long line of teachers. I have learned that the highest quality education requires ongoing multi-level engagement. This demanding personal interaction leads to both the student and faculty member becoming enlightened and excited about learning. The faculty member must be a role model who at all times conveys respect, dignity, courtesy, a love of learning, and be a champion of their program. In-person student and faculty engagement with the community is essential in building a program that serves the needs of all parties. YouTube, computer simulation, and other technical assets have greatly improved online learning compared to the correspondence courses they evolved from. I quickly adopt technology that can make significant positive contribution to the education process. However, this technology is currently lacking in developing a student's essential interpersonal skills. I teach data analysis and highly value the insights data can provide. However, many of the most important outcomes of quality education, such as developing student self-confidence and excitement about learning, are virtually impossible to quantify. For many students, the value of their education does not become apparent to them until later in life, well after they've graduated. That is difficult to track. Students, faculty, and the community should be the driving forces in the design of quality educational processes, with input derived from and not driven by data and technology. We must always practice continuous improvement. A core tenet of quality management in business is that investing in quality lowers costs, and focusing on cost-cutting measures usually lowers quality. Wisconsin has a long history of the citizens being willing to invest in creating world-class educational systems. I am optimistic that Wisconsin citizens will continue to make the investments needed for future generations to have the highest quality education. I have been fortunate for 2 decades to be part of the UW Superior family, and am very honored to receive this recognition. Thank you.
Our next award will be presented by Regent Carolyn Stanford Taylor.
Thank you. I just want to check to make sure everyone can hear me.
Absolutely. You're on.
Great, thank you. Good morning. I'm honored to present our third 2020 award, which recognizes the outstanding teaching of a department or program. That honor goes to the Department of Radio, TV, Film at UW-Oshkosh. Chaired by Dr. Andrew Smock, the department offers a 21st century mass media education that helps students establish successful careers in modern media production and studies. At UW-Oshkosh, students have access to the latest in equipment and facilities used in the industry. Titan TV, WRST, FM, and Film Society serve as learning laboratories for students who win state, regional, national, and even international awards. Students from the program also score big with internships, having won at least 17 competitive internships in the nationwide Academy of Television Arts and Sciences College Student Internship Program. Graduates work at radio and television stations around the country, including such well-established television networks as ABC, CBS, TNT, TLC, and Netflix. And they work on some major Hollywood films and TV shows, such as Daredevil, Ford versus Ferrari, The Avengers, and more. Alumni return to campus each fall to be interviewed for a televised student-hosted industry panel. Students in the Los Angeles Connection course spend 2 weeks immersed in the Los Angeles entertainment industry, meeting more than 50 department alumni. Students present video projects and media scripts to the community and to the on-campus celebration of scholarship, where they have won cash awards for their excellence. A graduate of the program said, quote, "I was given the incredible opportunity to work for one of the nation's largest retailers shortly after graduation, doing precisely what I love, all thanks to my radio, TV, film background," end quote. It is an honor to present our third 2020 Regents Teaching Excellence Award to UW-Oshkosh's Department of Radio, TV, Film. It is being accepted on the program's behalf by Department Chair, Dr. Andrew Smock.
Thank you, Regents. I'm very honored to accept this prestigious award on behalf of the UW-Oshkosh Radio, TV, Film Department. Speaking for my colleagues, we were very humbled to learn of our selection. As chair of the department, I have the great honor of working with an absolutely fantastic and talented group of individuals that are highly dedicated to the success of our students. I don't think there's a single approach to outstanding teaching that you can point to, or a path that can lead you there as an educator, but rather there are many methods and techniques that can result in outstanding teaching. However, that said, from my perspective, those various approaches begin with a passion for your discipline and truly caring about your students. Those two qualities are strongly evident in our radio, TV, film department. I also believe that outstanding teaching begins by designing an educational program and experience with great intention, ensuring that engaging student learning opportunities exist within and beyond classroom borders. With those building blocks of disciplinary passion, truly caring about your students, and designing opportunities with great intention, the scene is set for outstanding learning. With the scene set, all those varied methods and techniques that are most appropriate for the subject matter can more effectively be applied if you have the right faculty and staff, and we do. Our curriculum blends production and non-production courses, and in our efforts to do that, we rely on all these different components that we think are important for students to be learning as they go through a program like ours. And I don't want to take the time today to run through all of those different components, but I want to highlight a couple of things that kind of speak back to that idea of designing a program with intention. In our classrooms and in our curriculum, we found that the mix of production and non-production courses works best when those non-production courses focus on things like history, media theory, critical thinking skills that can then be used for our students as they are working and improving their production skills on the other half of our curriculum. But those skills that they're learning in the classroom aren't just meant to be for the classroom. We teach our students that when you produce media, you're always producing for an audience, be that your local community, a national community, or an even larger community. To that effort, our students' work is presented to our community through our radio station, WRST-FM 90.3, through our Titan TV station, and as noted earlier, through screenings that we hold in the community for student short films. Those opportunities push students, knowing that their work is not just going to be graded by a professor or seen or heard by their fellow students, but seen and heard by those in the community and beyond, pushes them in major ways. And of course, in today's day and age, it's not just those in the community. That beyond part includes all of those people around the world who are accessing our different media outlets. We have people streaming our WRST radio station around the globe. We have a map with pins in it. It's fun to go and look at. We have people who tune in to watch our Titan TV programs, especially our sports coverage during COVID. And also during COVID, we've been helping our theater department to air their productions to make them available to an audience, since it's unable to have folks actually attend the theater. So people around the world are able to see our students' productions and they know it. That pushes them, and that push is good. Students need a push. That experience of learning goes beyond the classroom, though, as I said, and we've designed student learning opportunities to exist in our student media organizations as well. Those student media organizations are student-led with faculty advising and employ a number of students to volunteer to help to continue to produce media for the radio station, for the TV station, and also through our Film Society student organization. Through those opportunities, students have the chance to further hone their skills, get more experience, build community with their fellow students outside of that classroom. And when we talk about the awards that our students win, it's not like a clear-cut 50-50 kind of thing, but awards are coming not just from classroom productions. They're coming from those student-led productions for organizations as well. They truly are fantastic learning laboratories that we're able to provide for our students. Back to great intention, internships are there with great intention to make sure that students are entering into a position with enough knowledge to begin contributing to media organizations' endeavors, but also so they are continuing to learn. Our internship providers tell us that students do show up ready to contribute from day one in meaningful ways. And to that, that's a great signal of the kind of education they're getting from our program. They also tell us, send us more interns, and we always try to do that. So as I begin to wrap up here, I'd also like to just call out the names of my colleagues in the department who are so deserving of this award. Karen Murphy, Justine Stokes, Doug Heil, Randall Davidson, Beth Hubbard, Mike Van Estler, Claire Armstrong, Bill Kirchhoff, and Tyler Ignarski. It's our work together to design and keep this program going that is, I think, really being honored here today. And the success of our students is, I think, very much an evidence of the work that is being done by this fantastic group of people. So in closing, thank you again for this great honor. In speaking on behalf of my colleagues, we look forward to continuing to lead in terms of media education in the state of Wisconsin for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swap.
Well, now we turn to the 2021 Regent Teaching Excellence Awards. I want to acknowledge the extraordinary demands placed on our nominees this past year. The pandemic required a quick pivot to remote teaching and learning, and for some courses, a creative combination of the two. Before we present this year's award winners, I would like to acknowledge the other nominees by reading their names and institutions. Under the individual nominee category, we include Christopher Presler, UW-Eau Claire, Dr. Emily Auerbach, UW-Madison, Dr. Carmen Hyder, UW-Oshkosh, Dr. Robert Barber, UW-Parkside, Dr. George Kruger, UW-Platteville, Dr. Claire McCarty, UW-River Falls, Dr. Michael Demchik, UW-Stevens Point, Dr. Lopa Basu, UW-Stout, and Carol Sakabati, UW-Whitewater. Program nominees include UW-Eau Claire Department of Biology, UW-La Crosse Department of Exercise and Sports Science, UW-Parkside's Flexible Option BS in Business Administration, UW-River Falls School Counseling Program, and finally, UW-Whitewater's Early Childhood Education Program. On behalf of our committee, I want to thank all of the nominees for taking the time to submit materials and for their important, relevant contributions. My colleagues on the Regent Selection Committee will now each introduce one of the 3 2001 award recipients. Each recipient will then have an opportunity to make a brief remark. Presenting our first award is the amazing Regent Eve Hall.
Thank you. It is my privilege to present the first 2021 Regents Teaching Excellence Award to Dr. Katia Levintova, Professor of Political Science and Global Studies in the Department of Democracy and Justice Studies at UW Green Bay. Dr. Levintova joined UW Green Bay's faculty in 2007 and is a leader in global learning, gender, and equity research. She teaches students with a wide range of experience, from first-year seminars to upper-level political science courses. Her innovative teaching blends discussion and lecture with simulations, such as asking students to stage public opinion polls in a mock political campaign. She actively publishes peer-reviewed articles and book chapters related to teaching, including her use of role-play simulations to increase understanding of global issues. Dr. Levintova has served as a UW System Wisconsin Teaching Fellow, as well as a UW Green Bay Teaching Scholar. She has received 3 grants related to lesson studies and engaged learning, showing her deep commitment to professional development and best practices in the classroom. Dr. Levintova is generous in sharing her expertise. She is the co-editor of Syllabus Journal, a peer-reviewed publication showcasing course syllabi, as well as articles on assignment design and syllabi best practices. She also co-edited a book, Gender in the Political Science Classroom, published by Indiana University Press in 2018. In addition to her regular teaching studies, she supervises independent research projects, directs honors projects, and supervises internships. She earned the UW Green Bay Founders Award for Excellence in Teaching in 2019. The same year, she earned an Alumni Achievement Award from her PhD institution. Former students say her inspiration and support are the reasons for their career trajectory and love of learning. Please join me in congratulating our first award recipient for 2021, Dr. Katia Levintova of the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay.
Yeah, she's got to unmute.
She's on mute.
Start over.
I thought I was not unmuted, or I was not mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, apologies for that. So again, thank you very much, members of the Board of Regents, everybody on my campus who supported me, which includes my faculty colleagues, my colleagues in the administration, and of course my wonderful students. I also wanted to thank my family and my parents and all the teachers that I ever had in my life. So all the people who supported me throughout my career and before, I'm very, very grateful for your inspiration and for your support. When I heard about this amazing honor, I started reflecting on my time at UW Green Bay, on my job, which I love to do every day. I have a smile when I enter my office. Every single day I come to campus. And when I reflected on this amazing 14 years that I spent on our beautiful campus, I was thinking to the first convocation that I attended in 2007. And I still remember the motto that hung on top of the platform. And it said, connecting learning to life. And our mottos changed and were replaced by equally inspiring mottos, including our current one, rising above the unknown. But I hope even the old mottos become the part of our institutional DNA. Or maybe it should be more properly called RNA because it's more topical in the pandemic times. So I was thinking why that phrase resonated with me so much and how it inspired my teaching at UW Green Bay. And I was thinking that it has so many meanings and all of them are extremely important. The first meaning I think that came to my mind was when we connect learning to life, we think about our student success after college. We think about job preparation, we think about career success. And of course, that's extremely important. I want my students to be fulfilled and have rewarding careers and be happy about the job that they do as much as I love my job. But I think it's more than that. Connecting learning to life means inspiring in students the lifelong learning. I want us, our institutions, our campuses, and us as faculty and academic staff to remain part of our students' lives, not necessarily in the physical sense or personally, but as inspiration, to be curious, to seek knowledge, to rejoice in learning, just as much as we rejoice in learning ourselves as teachers. To me, realizing that learning is this enjoyable lifelong endeavor made all the difference in the world. It's such a humanizing and universal endeavor. It unites all of us, regardless of social status, regardless of nationality, regardless of many other things. So I want that to stay with my students, and that motivates me to try to reach out to students and inspire them to do that. And all of us do this in our own way. But the third meaning that I think is also extremely important, especially in these very challenging times, is to think about how we can connect learning to the lives of our students. That our students are independent and autonomous beings who have identities outside campus too. We teach student parents, we teach students who are caregivers to their aging grandparents, we teach student veterans, we teach students who deal with bereavement or breakups or health issues. And so we should be able to affirm those student identities beyond just traditional learning. To me, I realize learning is life. Thank you very much again for the selection. Thank you very much to the Board of Regents, and again, congratulations to all the award winners and all the nominees. Thank you.
Our next award will be presented by Regent Becky Levsnow.
Thank you. Today, I am honored to present our second 2021 Regents Teaching Excellence Award to Dr. Renee Redman, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Biology at UW-La Crosse. Dr. Redman joined UW-La Crosse as a senior lecturer in 2005 and has taught more than 13,000 students over the course of her career. In addition to advising up to 30 students each semester, she teaches introductory biology, general biology for majors, anatomy and physiology, cell biology, genetics, senior capstone projects, and a course on health, wellness, and disease. These are challenging courses. Students often express their deep appreciation for her patience and willingness to explain or demonstrate a concept as many ways as necessary for it to click with her audience. Dr. Redman took the lead in developing a high-quality biology master's Canvas course with 7 other instructors, helping ensure core materials are covered regardless of instructor or format. She was instrumental in implementing several grant-supported course designs during the COVID-19 pandemic. All 3 courses are part of UW-La Crosse's core curriculum, affecting thousands of students each year. Dr. Redman uses interactive polling technology, small group project, in-class discussions, and creative art projects to teach complex biology concepts in a way that connects her students, She also develops weekly knowledge checks to help students apply course material through problem sets. In 2018, she received the Eagle Teaching Excellence Award, a student-driven recognition of teaching excellence. A colleague reflected, and I'll quote, "Time and time again, Renee has keenly identified barriers to learning and pursued change with the perfect balance of passion and pragmatism. At times, the changes have been small tweaks to a lecture or an assignment, while other instances have called for an overhaul of a project or even an entire class. She is not simply an ideas person. She is the first to roll up her sleeves and get to work." On that note, it is my privilege to introduce our second 2021 Regents Teaching Excellence Award recipient, Dr. Renee Redman. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? I would like to thank the committee for this award. To me, this is a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I am both honored and humbled to receive this award as I work among amazing, creative, and dedicated instructors who support my endeavor and inspire me to do more. I would like to specifically thank Dr. Jennifer Muskowski and Dr. Mike Abler for writing letters on my behalf, and to Provost Morgan and her committee at UW-Oshkosh for choosing me to be UW-Oshkosh's nominee for this award. I'd also like to thank the members of my department for their continued support, for sharing their ideas, for the collaborations that make me a better teacher. I'd also like to thank the rest of UW-Oshkosh for all the support that they give both myself and our students. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family, my mom, my husband. Everybody has to thank their mom. My husband, Mike, my children, Alex and Jack, as well as the rest of my family and friends for their love and support and tolerance as I'm answering emails and grading papers or exams on nights or weekends, and even at the occasional hockey game. We were encouraged to share our perspectives on outstanding teaching and learning, and I'd like to begin my comments by asking you to feel comfortable interrupting me or asking a question. This is the way I start each of my lectures, because creating an environment in which a student feels comfortable in asking a question, to me, sums up everything associated with outstanding learning and teaching. Feeling comfortable asking a question shows that a student recognizes you as their advocate and not their adversary. As an instructor, you are each student's greatest resource in obtaining their goals they've set for your course, as well as the goals you've set for their course. You should be their greatest resource and should be viewed as their advocate and not as the adversary, as that evil person standing between them and achieving an A. Feeling comfortable asking a question shows that a student knows you care. Students know their faculty are smart. Most of the ones I know are absolutely brilliant, but students don't need to be convinced of that. In order to have success, students have to not just know, but they have to believe that you care about them, that you're committed to their success, about who they are and what their needs are, that those things matter, and that you're in their corner. Feeling comfortable asking a question means that I've created an inclusive environment in my classroom, that my students feel safe, that they know no one there is going to cast a judgment on that question, that there's no stupid question, but rather they've formed a community, that they're working together, they're doing peer learning, they're engaging in critical thinking. And by asking a question, they've become empowered to advocate for themselves, not just in my class, but it gives them that power to carry on throughout their careers and their lives, to stand up for themselves. Lastly, a student asking a question means I'm never done. There is more I can do. Outstanding teaching and learning comes from an instructor who knows there's more to learn themselves, that learning is a lifetime commitment. No one and no course is ever finished. Last semester's course isn't just good to go for the next semester. Each question a student asks gives me the opportunity to identify what I can do better next time, what we can teach better. Recognizing that each class, each semester consists of a unique group of students with different backgrounds, different expectations, different needs. This is all my ability to recognize that there's an opportunity to modify the way I teach a particular concept. Outstanding teaching and learning is truly a partnership between an individual faculty member and their class. The class needs to be comfortable within each other, as well as to believe that that instructor is committed to their success. I want to keep this brief because that's one of the things my students like the best. And I want to congratulate all of the other nominees and the other winners. Each one is so well deserving. And I want to take the time to thank each and every one of the regents for all that they do for the success of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Redman. And our final presentation this morning will be by Regent Carolyn Stanford-Taylor.
Thank you. I'm honored to present our third award for this year, which recognizes the outstanding teaching of a department or program. That honor goes to the Nutrition Sciences Dietetics program at UW-Green Bay. This program is an emphasis within the human biology major and currently enrolls 73 students. 3 faculty members contribute to the teaching of this program: Dr. Deb Pearson, Ms. Sarah Wagner, and Dr. Leanne Drew, with Ms. Heather Masters serving as the Dietetic Internship Director. The program's mission is to provide high-quality, interdisciplinary courses and learning opportunities that focus on biological, physiological, and behavioral aspects of people with an emphasis on the role that food and nutrition have in maintaining and improving our health. The instructors teach first-year seminars, general education courses, and courses for the nutrition science emphasis. The program received a competitive university grant in 2019, allowing its faculty to leverage best practices for online and hybrid instruction. For example, the program is using a state-of-the-art food and nutrition lab in the university's STEM Innovation Center for community outreach during the pandemic. This enables the program to offer virtual, interactive culinary adventure healthy cooking demonstrations to local Girl Scout troops and teach virtual food and nutrition courses to socially distanced students. The program has an 85% placement rate for its students into food, nutrition, and dietetic-related professions within 6 months of graduation. Its students also have a very impressive 98.3% pass rate on the registered dietitian nutritionist exam. And expanding its reach, the program is launching a Master of Science in Nutrition and Integrative Health in the fall of 2021. A graduate of the program said, quote, "My appreciation for the innovation of this program only grows over time. Truly, the experiences provided in this program are uniquely designed to prepare students for any aspect of becoming a nutrition professional," end quote. It is an honor to present our Regents Teaching Excellence Program Award to the Nutrition Sciences Dietetics Program at UW-Green Bay, being accepted on the program's behalf by Dr. Deb Pearson. Dr. Pearson?
Thank you. I can be heard, I hope.
Yes.
My colleagues and I are very honored and humbled to receive this award, truly. I'm honored to speak on their behalf as well. And quite honestly, I could say ditto to all the eloquent comments that have been given by the other recipients, but I'm a teacher and we do like to talk, don't we? So, here I go. But I'll try to keep it brief. As you know, this award is for a program, and as such, this is truly a group effort. And quite honestly, so much of teaching is a group effort, right? My talented colleagues, Leanne Drew, Sarah Wagner, and Heather Masters all share equally in our efforts to strive for teaching excellence and to continuously try to make this program the best it can be, a strong, vibrant program. We're really united in our commitment and enjoyment really enjoyment, as I hear from all the other recipients, in mentoring and supporting the professional and personal growth of our students. It's really quite a privilege and just such a joy daily. You know, as Dr. Levintova said, when I go into class, I lose track of time because I'm with my students and they're the best part of my job, totally. But to work with students, help them develop their knowledge skills, and then in any small or big way, really help them find meaningful, purposeful career paths with that academic talent they've gained. The few things that my colleagues and I thought we would share about our teaching and mentoring approach in trying to maintain a strong program. And you've heard this earlier, but my colleagues and I really head into class with our passion and enthusiasm kind of on our sleeve, right? We love learning, and genuine passion and enthusiasm is contagious to students, right? It inspires them in the best of circumstances. I would argue when they get inspired, they are just that much more willing to jump in and handle and take on the academic rigor and challenge and rise to the occasion, rise to the learning, and hopefully develop their own love of learning and curiosity. In part, our passion is also, my colleagues and I, our passion is sustained by our commitment to our own professional development, so we can keep providing a rigorous, evidence-based and up-to-date curriculum. And in the nutrition science field, and healthcare in general, that is so important. And teaching and learning, as others have said earlier, really comes to life and gains meaning and purpose when students can embed that learning in service to the broader community, right? That's what it's about. How can they take their academic knowledge and degree and put it to use and work in the broader community? So we work hard to provide our students with opportunities to translate their academic knowledge into real world effect at the individual and community level. These community-based experiences help our students learn how to apply that academic knowledge. It not only opens our students' eyes to the possibilities of this broader range of career paths, but I would argue most importantly, it helps our students build such important cultural awareness. It expands their understanding of social justice issues, which are critical factors that inextricably link an individual's and communities' nutrition, health, and disease realities. And then, as others have said too, loving what you do and caring about those students. In and out of the classroom, we champion student growth professionally and personally, whether that's ranging from emotional and mental wellness and self-care to ethical and professional behavior. It really means a lot to us that our growing community of really tightly connected alumni continually come back to UWGB and give to our program and our students in so many ways, whether they're giving students community internship or independent study opportunities, whether they continually come back to our classrooms to speak to students. So students get a chance to hear from someone else besides the teacher in the classroom, which is important. And these connections frequently lead to great employment opportunities for our students who are either from this area or have made this Northeast Wisconsin their home. And then finally, as most important, colleagues and I are very mindful that our success is based on so many others. In particular, two things. We really stand on the shoulders of our predecessors in our program, in our nutrition program, that have helped to build our program. Shelley Gable, Laura Roll, and in particular, Karen Lacey, who retired some years back, was tirelessly dedicated to building a strong program and mentoring our students and mentoring us younger faculty. And we hope that we carry on that legacy. And then I think rather unique to UWGB that I've always been proud of our interdisciplinarity. Our nutrition science program is embedded within the broader human biology department. And the rigor and quality of our nutrition program has so benefited from the input and the care and concern of a wider range of my human biology experts, my immunologists, endocrinologists, geneticists, molecular biologists. They all contribute to the evolution and strength of our program. And the culture in our broader human biology department is so incredibly supportive and respectful of each other's expertise. In short, the Human Biology Department nurtures and maintains an environment that inspires me and all my colleagues, to continually professionally develop, to stay at the cutting edge of our field, to go ahead and expand into other areas of expertise and interest, and experiment with pedagogical tools to improve student learning. Student learning and student success, that's really first and foremost what drives what we try to do. So again, on behalf of colleagues and I thank you so much for this honor, and truly congratulations to all the other recipients and nominees. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations again to all of our Teaching Excellence Award winners for the last 2 years. This, for our newer regents, is one of the better recognitions that we're able to make. This is what makes a difference in the classroom. It's our teachers, it's our curriculum, it's what makes the University of Wisconsin system what it is. And to Regent Hall and Levintova and Stanford Taylor virtually, and then to our chairman, Ed Manideeds, exceptionally well done during difficult circumstances. Okay, at this time we'll move on to item 11. It's the next item on our agenda, and it's an amendment to a bylaw. Today, we're proposing a small but important change to provide greater openness and transparency in how the board operates. As you all know, in June at our annual board meeting, this body will elect its officers for the upcoming year. Till recently, I didn't realize our bylaws included a provision that required a contested election of officers to occur by ballot, presumably secret ballot. Virtually everything that this board considers is done in a public way, which is what the citizens of Wisconsin expect. Therefore, I feel strongly that this board should, whenever possible, operate as openly and transparently as possible. And for this reason, we're proposing a change to our bylaws that will require a roll call vote for the election of officers. If you looked at the material, it's a very simple and elegant amendment. It strikes one word, ballot, and increases the word roll call. So with that, I'll move this motion. It's Resolution 11. I'll seek a second.
Stanford Taylor, second.
Thank you, Regent Stanford Taylor. And then I'll invite any discussion. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those, Regent Klein.
Yeah, and I can kick
Regent,
us.
could I? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'll kick us off. And everybody who knows me knows that I have felt very importantly that this body have good governance. Review of the bylaws is hugely important. I've been asking for last year that we try to improve our deliberations. One thought was a governance committee. But there's other suggestions. There are different ways for us to ensure that we're being really deliberative. And I thought our discussions today were really positive and good. This comes off relatively poorly with at least me, I'll speak for myself, because of the timing and the process used. You're speaking here to a volunteer board that has no problem actually debating openly, giving our opinions. We sit on TV and we offer our opinions consistently and openly and honestly. And by the way, I think every one of us, knowing our fiduciary duty and with the best interests of the state of Wisconsin and the people of Wisconsin, make our comments known. So here we quote, bylaws must be kept current. Yes, agree. Usually entities have some sort of process with some committee that is these types of matters are referred to and considered. And that didn't happen here. We have one bylaw revision in the face of probably needing a few others, and to maybe update our committee charters, and we come up with one idea. And by the way, the timing is right before an election that we all know is going to be contested, and it is sent out at 8:42 at night, the day before the meeting. And to me, it's a process foul that is not in keeping with the culture of this board. I haven't decided how I'm going to vote. I'm happy to be transparent. How I'm going to vote. We're happy to discuss further. We could even discuss this at a different moment. But good governance requires you look at things holistically, you send it out in advance, and you give consideration to the members in a holistic way so that they can make a good judgment. So I will vote against it, and that's my story.
I appreciate your comments, Regent Klein. I'll just react and then seek other comments. I agree with you that the necessity to look at bylaws happens continuously. We routinely make changes to bylaws. We do give opportunity for review of those. In light of the fact that this is a change of 2 words, I didn't believe that we needed to have a committee opinion to address that. But nevertheless, the reason as it relates to why do it now and in lieu of June, because I wanted people to have full appreciation for the fact that we do have an upcoming election, and I don't think it would be appropriate to do it at the June meeting, and we don't have a May meeting. So I wanted to make sure that there was certainly plenty of advance notice for that fact. And then finally, I'll just make an editorial comment. The reason why this, I think, is so important, and this predates many of our service on this board, we have worked since 2012 with regularity to improve the accountability of this board. If you go back to 2012, when there was discussions about excess dollars within the UW system, inability to be financially prudent, willingness to hide and mislead the public, legislators, citizens of the state, this board, in a very bipartisan way, has worked aggressively over the course of my tenure and, I believe, beyond to overcome that. So in my mind, it makes absolute sense that as we vote on every matter, we do it in an open forum. This makes sense to me from an openness and a transparency standpoint, and I believe it does to the majority of the board. But with that, I just wanted to react.
I have something else I want to say, but I let my colleagues.
I'll go to Regent Jones and then Regent Atwell.
Yeah, I just wanted to voice my support for this change. I'm totally comfortable voting in open session, and I think that's how we should vote. I do kind of now acknowledge Tracy's comment, though. We could be a little bit more rigorous and systematic in looking at our bylaws and updating our bylaws. So I think she has a very valid point there.
Yeah, and I would agree to say that we sometimes add more to our bylaws, move, or to curriculum well, and I think that's a very fair point. This was a timeliness matter. Regent Atwell.
Yeah, I think, does everyone understand? I think we are facing a contested election. At least I became aware of that in the last month or so. I don't know if everyone else is. I don't know how I'm going to vote. I don't have a problem with being transparent about how I do vote when I do vote. I don't think the timing of trying to adjust this is appropriate, given that we already know we're in a contested election. And I have to agree with Regent Klein that when all of a sudden we get, like 24 hours before a meeting, a one-word change in our bylaws, it doesn't look like a comprehensive review of our bylaws that's done with a deliberate process at all. Whether it is or isn't, it kind of smacks of governance gimmickry. And so once again, I don't know how I'm going to vote. I'll vote my conscience. I will be communicating with whoever wants to talk to me about it, including all my Regent colleagues. And when I do vote, I don't have a problem disclosing how I do vote and why. So I am opposed to taking this action today.
Other comments of board members? Oh, I'm sorry, Regent Hall.
Yeah, I have concerns also about the timing of this kind of change. This is my 7th year, and the way we voted through ballot, I thought was a good way to do it. My concern is that this will become additional conversation about how people vote. I know I won't be voting in June, but I'm thinking about how we need to stay focused on the business of UW system. And my concern is that this will take attention away from how we need to do business and focus on how people are voting. And so that is my concern. And I just cannot support it at this time. And I think there does need to be more conversation about it.
Regent Peterson?
You're on mute.
Oh, I think you might be on mute, Chris.
Yes, I do agree with what Tracy said, that having this come up the day before we vote on it, it's not exactly the way, I'm not there, so I can't really talk to everyone and see what people have been saying. And so I'm not sure. I kind of would like to hear other opinions from other regents. And that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you.
Other opinions of Regents? Regent Manny.
Yes, I'd like to consider tabling this for another time. I feel that getting it at the late notice that we did get it didn't give us enough time to really think about it. We've had so many other really important things, not that this isn't, but it doesn't rise to the level of the e-learning, for instance, or the other things that we've been discussing that are important business. So I haven't really thought about it. I'd like time to consider, I'd like time to know. This is a recommendation of the AGB. I don't know anything about what other boards do. I don't know what the purpose of this is. I don't know if this has been a problem in the past. I was a party to one contested election on the Board of Regents many years ago. And it was, let me just say this, there was more of a comfort level. Regents were doing it by ballot, and I think could limit the stress on ourselves. Saying that it's stressful, that's something that I want to consider. These types of thoughts I haven't really had time to really think about, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I don't think as quickly as I used to about things and come to appropriate conclusions like I really would like to. That's the purpose for me.
Second.
You beat me to it, Olivia. Oh.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to table this. And do we have a motion to table it? Nope. Well, we have a motion.
I was going to second Ed's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Let's have discussion on that motion.
I don't think it's debatable.
The motion to table is not debatable?
It's not debatable.
Quinn, is that accurate?
Question.
Wouldn't it be a separate motion?
Have a motion and a
I
second.
have
on
a
the
motion
table.
open on the floor, so it's you either amend the motion.
Motion to table, second.
Table.
Not
So
debatable.
you
and
vote on
takes
the,
pre-
you vote on,
precedence.
you vote on the motion to table the motion? I'll shut up, Joe Quinn.
I'll take guidance of our council.
Googling it. Let Quinn figure
If people are comfortable while Quinn's doing his research, could I allow Regent Bechtel to speak?
Yeah, just a point of order. I'm going to ask a question on the original motion. Question. Regent Menendez just referred to AGB publication that was cited in the material given to us. I did not understand that AGB was recommending that there be roll call votes for those decisions. Did AGB make that recommendation that officer elections be done by roll call?
I believe their recommendation, as I read, is that elections be done at least annually and regularly.
Yeah, bylaws are to be reviewed annually. Obviously, elections of officers that stand for 1 year would be done. But I didn't understand that their recommendation included the manner and method.
I don't
of those
believe it did.
elections.
No, I don't believe it did.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
And as it relates to timing, with all due respect, I had not I was not aware. We have not had a contested election the entire time that I've been on the board for the last 9 years, or 8 years, which will be 9. And so when I did research as it relates to how is our election conducted, I was a bit astonished to learn that it was a secret ballot, particularly because of the openness of the state of Wisconsin, all of the transparency involved in any time that we have a contested matter at this board, which is rare and infrequent. We have a roll call vote, and we're all comfortable with that. And we've had few, but enough. And it's always done in open fashion. And in my mind, again, going back to the accountability of this, I would envision that everybody on this board would be comfortable speaking their mind as to how they vote. We are a $6 billion operation. We have 140,000 students. We have 40,000 employees. We are one of the largest organizations in the state. We are the largest organization of state government. Do that in an open and transparent fashion, in my mind, makes a lot of sense. And it was my view that the entire board would believe that as well. Regent Hall.
Yeah, just a comment. I guess I don't think of the word secret when everyone is expressing their concern. I don't think of that word. I think more or less, again, I think someone mentioned just maybe a comfort level, or I guess I just have not seen a problem with the way we've been doing the elections over my tenure. And so while definitely there are times when there needs to be a change, I think this kind of change, once again, would have a lot more discussion and make sure that people have time to really go through kind of a change.
Fair point. And I agree with you. Throughout the entire tenure of my service as well, we've not had this kind of an experience. But as I went and did that research, it's evident that that ballot is not public. Ballot that's handed to you, you vote, you submit it back. And in my mind, that's a secret ballot. And that was troubling to me as a steward of the University of Wisconsin system. Nothing more, nothing less.
So the motion to table is not debatable, but I would note that motion to table does not have a timeline associated with it at this point.
And could you comment just on the fact that we do have a motion and a second on the table as it relates to the existing resolution 11?
Oh, the initial.
The initial resolution was moved forward. There was a second for that. We had discussion. Then we've had a motion to table.
Point of order, the.
Can we have
the table takes precedence.
a brief pause to be able to review this?
Certainly. And yeah.
Can I make an announcement just so everybody knows about it, Van Hise has got more problems. We had to send the employees home today because we have no water. And they're going to start taking off the cement envelope on the 3rd and 4th floor either today or starting next week. What?
You had no what?
Water.
Water. Oh.
Yeah.
Running water.
Go ahead, Alex.
Alex,
Talk
could you
up.
just use the microphone?
Yeah, use this.
We just got the governor's permission for emergency order to remove the panels. Governor Evers signed
I
it.
can't hear you, Alex.
Governor Evers just signed the emergency order to remove the panels. And so the DOA is working with a contractor to mobilize, and we're hoping as early as Monday, but we should know, I hope, within the next 24 hours. And the president is correct. We've been asked for purposes of safety that we relocate out of the building during this period.
Alex, do we have any sense on timing, or is it until a full assessment is done?
Yeah, I apologize, Regent Peters. 19th floor has not been. That's one of the reasons why they would like us to move out. But I think once we know contractors schedule, we're hoping it's a short term. We're hoping, but we'll be president and his talk about.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Yes, Regent Miller.
Getting back to the question at hand here, because I don't have the historical perspective, I have a question. No, I lost my train of thought. Oh, you'll have to come back to me. I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
We're going to wait for a moment for the original motioner to clarify the date. Understanding is, I think he said till the next meeting, so we want to just clarify that.
Oh, my question was this a result of a wholesale review of or this is just a one-off?
Yeah, this is one simple amendment to a bylaw, not a full exhaustive review of all bylaws. And I would say that, within, perhaps routine is not the right word, but regularly, you'll have an addressed issue related to a bylaw that may require full board action, make an adjustment to a policy that has been deemed to be, antiquated, Byzantine, what have you. I think Regent Klein's suggestion is we need to do a full, exhaustive review of our bylaws and governance matters for the future. This was done purely as it relates to when our next meeting is, the fact that we don't have a May meeting. And again, the effort here was to do this in a simple and elegant way, and do it well in advance, 60 plus days before an election.
Thank you.
Regent
Yeah,
Greeby?
let me, since you and I are.
Hold on a second. Go ahead, Michael.
Since I think you and I are the two who have put forward the motion to table over the original motion, which was seconded, and we seem to have walked ourselves into a Robert's Rules of Order cul-de-sac. Maybe what I would suggest, although this probably needs to be okayed, I think the original motion can be withdrawn, in which case there is, with the permission of, with the consensus of the full body, and if the original motion is withdrawn, there is no action to be taken. It can then be brought back, which I think was partly where you were going, Regent Many Deeds, but perhaps with fuller discussion. So let me first ask Regent Many Deeds if you think that accomplishes the same thing that I think we were trying to accomplish. And then I guess I'd give it back to Regent President Peterson, because I do think since there's a motion seconded before the body needs to agree to permit it to be withdrawn. Think?
So as the person who moved the motion and received a second, I would be happy to withdraw the motion. I would accentuate that the reason why I made the motion was to do this and provide the board with ample time in advance of the election to understand what our processes would be. We will likely have a May meeting of the Board of Regents that will be called to approve the UW River Falls Chancellor. At that time, we could address this issue. I'm perfectly comfortable making that alteration. I think that's in alignment, Ed, with your view, Regent Many Deeds.
Yes, that'd be fine with me. That accomplishes what?
And again, I think that's in advance of the June meeting. In my mind, this was all done in the name of openness and transparency, and absolutely not done, and quite honestly, done deliberately, so it would not be done on the first day of the two-day meeting that we have anticipated in June. So this seems to me to be an entirely reasonable compromise, that we've introduced this today. I will withdraw that. I would encourage the full board to consider the matters at hand as it relates to our fiduciary duties, our accountability as a board, and how you conduct your business, whether it be open and transparent or whether it be by ballot. And so if I withdraw that motion, then we can pivot to or simply table with instructions. It will address this come May, presuming we have a meeting. Does that meet your?
I guess I would just say, Regent President Peterson, that if you were following the good governance guidelines set forth in the motion, explanation of the motion, there should be a review of the bylaws holistically. Would probably do, I don't remember them being amended at any time I've been on the board. I think they're archaic. They probably could use a good look. I think the better way to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish is to appoint a committee that could be a special regent committee and could review the bylaws more holistically. And that might well be a change people are prepared to make. Again, this has been a transparent board. We sit on TV. We're happy to tell people how we feel. So I don't know that revision, the problem is it's a one-off, and I think the bylaws need revision. You're the chair and you're the motion maker, so I'm just offering a perspective that might be more satisfying to the group and consistent with the culture of our board.
I appreciate the suggestion. I'm concerned about timing. Without disagreement, it is entirely appropriate to do a full review of our bylaws. But I think that would be more extensive, and I think it should be more extensive than making a determination about how we'll conduct our elections 2 months from now. And so I would be happy, as I serve as a board member post-June, to either endorse the concept of a bylaw review or sit on that committee. But this, in my mind, and I think it should be in the minds of the full board, that we address this issue prior to a potentially contested election. Regent Bechtel.
Yeah, Regent President Peterson, we fully appreciate the spirit in which the motion was made. It was timely. Let's be very clear on that. By statute, it was timely noticed. May not have been, as much notice as people would have preferred, but statutes were complied with. And, your explanation in terms of just transparency makes total sense. And that we are in a new era here where apparently we haven't had some contested elections. So I would, and whether you table or you withdraw, either gets you to the same result under Robert's rules. So if you withdraw, we're done for today. I agree with you also that in terms of bylaws revision, there's no need to rush through that in 30 or 60 days. I would offer as a suggestion that you as president appoint someone to just handle the contest that we are about to have on an unprecedented basis, so that a process is deliberated upon and decided upon by the body, so that we move through what should be a fairly routine matter, but do it in a way that makes sense.
First things first, I'm comfortable to withdraw the motion, and we'll do that now. With that movement and motion withdrawal, I don't think we have to address the tabling. I think we do have instructions that we should move to address this surgical matter prior to the June meeting.
Right.
I take under advisement that good recommendation that perhaps we delegate this to someone to make that determination, or delegate that to several people. In all honesty, in full transparency, I didn't think this was a terribly complicated matter.
Right.
And I still don't. And I think that as I look at my responsibilities as a board member, I had absolute every confidence in telling precisely how I vote, and I'm somewhat surprised that anyone would feel otherwise. But we'll take those matters into consideration. I think the full governance discussion about bylaws is something that we should do. I would certainly not stand in the way of that. But I am very troubled and concerned about timing. This was something that I was certain did not want to take place before our next meeting. While we've been talking, I seem to resemble and remember that we have a May meeting likely to come based on your good work. And at that point in time, we could potentially address this issue, give it plenty of notice, plenty of time for people to review that paragraph and make a determination. Is that comfortable with the full members of the board?
Yeah.
Regent Atwell?
Yeah. I guess, first of all, it kind of got framed as, I think Eve used the word secret, you're a secret ballot. I guess, so maybe my opposition was rooted a little bit in the argument that I thought you were making, that anyone who opposes the change is against transparency. I think there are many, and I've already offered, I'll tell people how I vote. I don't have any issue with that. I don't know how I'm going to vote. But it was troubling to me. I think any change on the eve of an election is not a good idea. And I think there are good reasons why, well, first of all, citizens use secret ballots to vote. And there are some reasons why deliberative bodies use ballots to vote. So I'm kind of undecided on the concept. I think the timing's wrong. And because we are in the middle of a contested election. So those are my thoughts. I didn't mean to be inflammatory, and my phrase of, I guess I did mean to be inflammatory, governance gimmickry, but I withdraw the tone. Perhaps if you could withdraw the concept that people who oppose the change are necessarily anti-transparent.
Fair point. Other comments?
Deal? Good deal.
Yeah. Other comments related to this matter?
I just for the record, thank you for that, because I'm not opposed to that was not what I was trying to state.
Oh, noted. Okay, we will move on with instructions. Prior to adjourning today, I do want to acknowledge that this may be the last meeting for several of our colleagues, Regent Dr. Eve Hall, Becky Levzow, and Olivia Woodmansee. It's been an absolute privilege to work with each of you. You brought valuable experience and insights to our discussions over the years, and the UW system is a better place because of the three of you. I thank you, as the full board does, for your dedicated service, more importantly, for your friendship. We're going to formally recognize you with your contributions, with resolutions of appreciation, with all of those whereases at a future meeting. But let's all give our three Regent colleagues a hand of thanks to all three of you. Before we adjourn today, are there any regents that have communications, petitions, or memorials to share? Seeing none, on behalf of the board, I'd like to recognize the passing of Thomas Lyon, a respected agriculturist and former president of the Board of Regents. Mr. Lyon was 80. An Iowa native, Mr. Lyon studied dairy science at Iowa State before moving to Wisconsin to work at the Midwest Breeders Cooperative, a cattle breeding operation. As was noted in his obituary, his main interest was the well-being of farmers, especially dairy farmers, and their rural communities. In 1991, Mr. Lyon started Cooperative Resources International, CRI, an artificial insemination company with more than 1,250 employees and over $100 million in annualized revenues. After retiring in 2003, Mr. Lyon consulted for the Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, advocating to protect Wisconsin working lands and advance farmland preservation. He also served as co-chair of the Future of Farming and Rural Life in Wisconsin project at the Academies of Sciences, Arts, and Letters. Mr. Lyon was also a member of the UW System Board of Regents from 1986 to 1993 and served as our president from 1990 to 1992. We extend our condolences to Mr. Lyons, his family, friends, and colleagues. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Regents today?
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
President Thompson.
I would just like to say on behalf of myself personally, Thomas Lyons was just an outstanding human being. Not in my political party, but he was an individual that was very close to me and was one of my advisors in agriculture. He was president of the Board of Regents when I was governor. There couldn't have been a closer working relationship that I've ever had with anybody than Thomas Lyons. Highly ethical, extremely intelligent, dedicated to Wisconsin and especially to agriculture. And his passing is a loss to his family, but also to the state of Wisconsin. And I just wanted the record to show that Thomas Lyons was an individual that was able to reach across the table on a bipartisan basis and was appointed by me many different capacities and was definitely a close advisor to me on many issues concerning the university and agriculture.
Thank you, President Thompson. This time I'll seek a motion to adjourn. So moved. Regent Bechtel in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And adjourned.